We'll call this meeting to order of the Ventura County Board of Supervisors for September 10th, 2013. We do the roll call, please.
Here.
Here.
Here. And want to do our moment of inspiration. I want to call Donna Bolker to the, she is the volunteer representative from the City of Fillmore. We'll be discussing the LIFE program from the area aging, on the Aging Council. Thank you. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you. I've been a member of the VC AAA Advisory Board since 2009, representing the Fillmore Council on Aging. It's been a real learning experience as to what senior citizens in Ventura County need, and the many steps and hours of work that it takes to develop these programs and meet the requirements that they have. As a board member, I've served on the legal issues, health issues, and senior nutrition committees. The VC AAA Advisory Board is comprised of volunteer representatives from every community in the county, and they are committed to keeping our seniors safe, happy, and active. Serving on the advisory board benefits me in many ways as I learn about and help develop programs to meet the needs and improve the lives of seniors throughout Ventura County. And it is a tremendous resource for me personally, as I have now taken over the care of my 94-year-old mother, and for the community of Fillmore Piru. I've been an active member of the Fillmore Senior Center Board since 2008 and currently serve as board president. Our all-volunteer board is comprised of individuals who have made a commitment to bettering the lives of seniors in Fillmore. Our average age is 75. We have one paid part-time office support staff and currently receive no financial assistance from the City of Fillmore. We do all our own fundraising. We've had fireworks booths, flea markets, and now we are instituting a bingo game at the end of this month. Fillmore senior community has a large number of low-income residents with language barriers, and a lot of them have physical disabilities. So our senior center is of vital importance to them, and this is Senior Center Month. Hot meals, either home or delivered at site, is administered through the City of Fillmore. Information on topics of Medicare, housing, transportation, insurance benefits, elder abuse and fraud, art driving courses, tax preparations, we try to do it all to fill the needs. We offer a place to socialize and participate in programs to benefit them as far as exercise, like Tai Chi, chair yoga, chair exercise, line dancing. Art classes, they have sketching, collage, watercolor, and decorative gourd creation. We have a computer lab and free library. And I personally teach knitting and crochet. And we have a very popular Spanish class and a low vision and Alzheimer's support group. Well, one of the committees that I served on is the Legal Issues Committee, and they have compiled a handbook for seniors called LIFE, Legal Information for Elders. This binder is full of easy-to-understand information, legal forms that our seniors need, such as durable power of attorneys, health care directives, where to go here in this big complex to get help, and when they can get it. We also have lawyers that go out and conduct these classes, and everything was reviewed and approved, and we finally got it done. Then we had to have it printed, have training for all of the volunteers that go out and deal with the seniors. And to date, this class has been given to over 480 seniors. They get the binder with the forms. They can come back for a refresher course when it can be scheduled. And just recently, we were awarded the National Innovation Award from the National Area Agency on Aging in Washington, D.C., and we are very proud of that fact. And thank you for the opportunity to present you with this information.
Well, thank you so much. I mean, and congratulations on your award.
Thank
I mean,
you.
as a national award, not locally, but I just appreciate all that you do. We take on a group of seniors who have given all of us so much, and appreciate what you're giving back in your time to volunteer.
Well, they're a remarkable group of people.
Yeah. Well, thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate that.
Also note that we're going to be going to the Area Agency on Aging on Wednesday to tell them about the Senior Summit that we've got
Yeah.
coming in November. So look forward to seeing you there.
Wonderful. Mr. Berg, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Sure will.
Thank you, sir.
Place your hand over your heart and repeat after me.
That sounds great with that big crowd like that. All right, so we'll move on to our number 5. We have the minutes of the county and special districts for Tuesday, August 6th. They are still on schedule like always. We have a motion, minutes. We can vote, and a second by Supervisor Parks. And we will go to Mr. Powers in our agenda review.
Thank you, Chair Foy. Just a couple of items. Item 23, the SEIU MOA. There's a revised Exhibit 2, which has been distributed and posted to the web. And then item 35, proposed moratorium on parking fees at the Santa Rosa Valley Park. There is a comment letter from Kevin Cannon, which has been distributed and posted. And that's it.
That's it. Anybody else have anything? Can we approve the agenda as revised? We have a motion. Second. It is. Okay. And we can move on. Sure? Waiting on one more vote? And then we have our consent agenda. Any comments, any questions, or any motions?
Just one comment on item 18, that's our hazardous waste report. Just wanted to point out again that as we have on many of our hazardous discharge reports, that we had another crude oil incident, a pipeline leak caused by a spill, and just kind of pointing these out because they're so common, and particularly now when we're looking at issues of fracking in our county and how important it is that we see that we protect the groundwater in our area.
Okay, so do we have a motion for our consent item? And that would be 10 through 22. We have a motion by Supervisor Long, second by Supervisor Zaragoza. There we go. All right. Then we'll move on to public comments. We've got a lot of comments, so I'm going to limit those to 3 minutes. And, sir, we're up. We have Carrie Stein.
I believe that's Larry Stein.
They didn't look like
I wish
Carrie
to point
me.
out to you that I'm somewhat concerned about the issues of local groundwater. I'm currently paying close to $1,400 per acre foot for water. There's a proposed contract between the city and United Water vis-a-vis the Fox Hen Groundwater Management Agencies proposing selling water to 3 private entities at $350 per acre foot. Please bear in mind I'm paying $1,400 per acre foot, and the water that they want to buy costs $1,600 per acre foot. So why are 3 private entities, large as they are allowed such a large subsidy is an issue that was approved by Fox County Groundwater Management Agency. And I've asked at least 2 members here in front of me for answers and responses, and have not gotten any. I've asked a response back from Fox County Groundwater Management Agency. I've not gotten a response. Please bear in mind that earlier this year I wrote numerous communications to all of you pertaining to the fire station at College Park. And the board approved the annexation of land that was supposed to be parkland in perpetuity. It still gave the city of Oxnard the right to build a fire station on this 2.5 acres. The city has no intention of replacing that 2.5 acres with other farmland. The city looks like they're going to approve selling this water at $350 per acre foot. Where is it that private citizens get the protection from elected officials? Again, I'm paying $1,400 per acre foot for water that's costing $800 per acre foot to produce, but we're going to be selling water to 3 private entities, water at $350 per acre foot that's costing $1,600 per acre foot to produce. Our local groundwater has dropped from 8 feet to 25 feet in the last 3 years. I know people on fixed incomes who've seen large increases in the water bill, having to cut down their fruit trees because they can't afford the water bill anymore. So we are going to be subsidizing us residents, us local water users, 3 large entities for local groundwater. They want 5,000 acre-feet of water per year. That subsidy amounts to between $5 million and $6 million per year in subsidy that we, the residents of Oxnard, and the local users of water will be subsidizing. Something isn't fair. I mean, why should I have to pay $1,400 per acre foot for water that's costing $800 per acre foot, and they want to use the specialized water that costs $1,600 per acre foot, I'm going to be paying $350 per acre foot. Not only that, but we get to pay to have the water piped to them. Please bear in mind the cost to pipe water from the groundwater facility at Ormond Beach to these locations, yet to be determined, is close to $800 to $1,000 per foot. Let me repeat that, no typo. It costs somewhere between $800 to $1,000 per foot to build a pipeline to transport the special water from Ormond Beach to some site yet to be determined. Again, I'm asking representatives who represent all citizens of Oxnard as supervisors to address this issue. Now, this issue also has overriding ramifications pertaining to your areas. For example, there's water coming down from Moore Park and Simi Valley into Camarillo. Camarillo would like to have access to some of this water, but they can't get it. The rules and regulations are different between farmers and residents. Fox County Groundwater Management Agency has cut back the allocation to cities by 25%. Meanwhile, the rules for farmers are different. The farmers are allowed to use best practices. And the sustainability issue is about 2 acre-feet per acre of farmland. That's the level of sustainability. Some farmers who are growing specialized crops like strawberries and raspberries are using 4 acre-feet of water per acre. Again, an excess amount of the money of the water allocated. Again, this isn't fair.
Mr. Stein, you're over your 3 minutes.
I wasn't aware. I was looking for a light and I didn't
Okay.
see one, so
All right.
thank
Well,
you.
Thank you for your information. Don Douglas?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Powers, thank you for the opportunity to address your board, and I'll be brief. My name is Don Douglas. I'm the president of the Ventura County Professional Peace Officers Association, better known as VCPPOA. VCPPOA represents the interests of the deputy probation officers and the corrections services officers of the probation agency. We also represent the patrol officers working at the county's parks, harbors, and airports. There are more than 300 hardworking public safety professionals in our group, and I'm proud to say that they are also my colleagues. I regret to say, however, that the public safety services provided by these groups, especially the Ventura County Probation Agency, are going in the wrong direction. Deservedly so, our members have been praised by probation agency management and county officials for doing the work that we do day in and day out, work that has come from years of doing more with less. For far too long, the probation agency has limped along with the same ideas about what it takes to safely manage our probation clients and our minors in custody at the juvenile facilities. For years, it has seemingly been okay with county officials to hire very talented, highly educated professionals, only to lose them to state parole and to other law enforcement agencies. Unfortunately, with the advent of public safety realignment in October of 2011, the state of California has changed this approach for the probation agency and the county of Ventura, changed it forever. Our probation officers now manage a higher risk, more sophisticated, and more violent level of clientele than we ever have before. This change demands that county officials reconsider its approach to recruiting and retaining our valuable personnel. Gone are the days in which county officials only count on department heads to provide them with the necessary information to make informed, responsible decisions. Now, under the state's realignment program, Doing business as usual will result in the safety and security of our county residents and businesses being compromised. While our executive managers did our jobs 10, 15, even 20 years ago, they have lost touch with the reality of what now occurs at the line staff level. Over the past several months, VCPPOA has painted the other half of the picture that our department heads have failed to paint. County officials, the Board of Supervisors, and the general public have been provided with enough examples, enough news articles, and enough other facts to realize that public safety is not where the County of Ventura can afford to cut corners. For far too long, our officers have lacked the tools, the training, and a competitive compensation and benefits package to keep our officers safe and retained as employees of the professions that VCPPOA represents. From the proper supervision and accountabilities of probationers and post-release offenders to the proper supervision and safety of the minors in our care at the juvenile facilities to the safety and security of our harbors, airports, and parks, our officers need the support of the Board of Supervisors and county officials. VCPPOA is asking that each of you send the message to the county's negotiation team and to our department heads that cutting corners on public safety is no longer an option. Our residents and businesses deserve to have the highest quality of professionals performing the duties and responsibilities that our members provide. For years, VCPPOA and its members have heard the verbal accolades for the part that we play in the safety and security of our county, for which we are grateful. However, it is now the time for county officials to back up the verbal accolades with its actions. VCPPOA looks forward to the day where county officials properly prioritize the services that our members provide to the residents and businesses of our county. Again, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. Jim Smith. See if we can keep this to 3 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, board members, Mr. Powers. Thank you for the opportunity to address your board. My name, as you know, is Jim Schmidt, and I'm the Vice President of the Ventura County Professional Peace Officers Association. We're here today because we don't want Ventura County to cut corners on public safety. Reducing crime rates and preventing crime before it happens doesn't happen by accident. It takes good people who know what they're doing. It takes efficient, effective command staff who know how to give line-level employees all the tools, training, and resources to do the job right 365 days a year. What does it take to recruit, train, and deploy that kind of specialized workforce? At the Ventura County Probation Agency, we have roughly 270 deputy probation officers and correction service officers. I know that recruitment and retention has been a concern for this board. Over the past several years, the agency has recruited and hired nearly enough officers to replace those who've retired or gone to other agencies or other employment. As the economy improves and other police and probation agencies increase their hiring programs to bring their agencies back to pre-recession staffing levels, how can our agency continue to compete for the most qualified people? Several of the largest agencies in Southern California are restarting their academy programs. The Los Angeles Sheriff's Department alone is planning to recruit and hire 300 to 400 new employees in the next 6 months. Our work is rewarding, but how can we expect to find qualified young people to work for our agency when our compensation is more than 18 to 21% below the 8-county average that we survey? In fact, our deputy probation officers and correction service officers are the lowest paid in that 8-county survey. 8th out of 8. Not Riverside, not Kern, not San Bernardino, where the cost of living is much lower, but Ventura County is the lowest. And with existing contracts in other counties, we know that this will only get worse. I do have a copy of our total compensation survey for you. I'll leave it with your clerk if you'd like to look at it. Our Ventura County Probation Agency is at a critical juncture. With state prison realignment program returning hundreds of higher-risk, more violent career criminals to our local custody. We've got one chance to get this right. Business as usual, the way we've worked for decades, is not going to get it done anymore. We can't afford to lose the trust of Ventura County residents, businesses, we depend on for our agency to properly monitor caseloads. I know this board has always spoken highly of the work that we do, and we do appreciate that. But we ask that you complete your words with actions. On behalf of my colleagues, I urge the board to reassess the priorities that govern the probation agency and its personnel. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jim. Mr. Cruz, Jr.?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members. I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to address the board on the heels of 9/11, where we honor many of our fallen countrymen and, of course, law enforcement and responders, first responders. My name is Rogelio Cruz, and I am a board member of the CPPOA. I have been a probation officer for 15 years. I love my work, and I believe 100% in our mission statement, which is to promote community safety through a system of graduated sanctions that balances the needs of the victim, the offender, and the community. In the last few years, fulfilling my job responsibilities has been more difficult and more challenging. And in 2011, with AB 109, it was a complete game changer for us. The state prison realignment program shifted all the responsibility of the non-nons to county custody and supervision. That means that the caseloads that we historically managed are now light work, and now we're dealing with a new category of more sophisticated, more violent career criminals. And those individuals would normally have been in state prison. That's what we're up against. And with all due respect, it seems that the agency and our county officials are dealing with this new era of probation clients like it's business as usual. The probation agency will continue to receive a steady stream of career criminals, and yet we are ill-equipped to handle a lot of these challenges. One example that was brought up is the chronic problem that we have with retention and recruitment. And it's in part because of our pay. And to be honest, I don't see it as a priority for the county or for the agency. We're here today to ask the board to take a good look at where our agency's headed. And if you agree that some changes need to be made, we'll be on the way to making sure that we are providing the kind of public safety services that Ventura County residents and businesses expect and deserve. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Galarza? I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name there.
It's Galarza.
Okay, there you go.
Good morning. My name is Richard Galarza. I'm a member of VCPPOA, representing the interests of the deputy probation officers and the corrections service officers working in Ventura County Probation Agency. I've been a Ventura County Probation Agency corrections officer for 15 years. My current assignment is in the juvenile facilities. With all due respect, I, along with my colleagues, are very concerned about the staffing levels and officer safety in our facilities. While it's true that the total number of juveniles in our facilities are currently lower now than in the past, we have fewer corrections officers to handle the youth in our custody. More importantly, the juveniles population in our care are much more challenging than years in the past. The juveniles we oversee are much more prone to violence against each other and against officers. Over the course of the last several years and the closing of several of the state's juvenile youth authorities, we have kept more violent juveniles for longer periods of time. The corrections officers at the juvenile facilities are dedicated and doing the best job we can. After years of understaffing and the lowest pay of any probation agency officer in 8-county area, we are left with the sense of devotion to our job well done is not reciprocated by the agency or county officials. We continue to lose well-educated and experienced officers to other agencies, leaving us with continued retention issues. Today, we're asking that the Board of Supervisors take a closer look at Ventura County Probation Agency and look at the new responsibilities we have ensuring the safety of the residents and businesses of Ventura County. I'm confident that with your close examination will bring changes we need in public safety services, and public safety will be prioritized. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Richard. Todd Collard? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's finish.
Do they have any more?
Is there anybody else from speaking in regards to probation? No? All right. Mr. Powers?
I was just going to respond to that. Thank you, Chair Foy and Mr. Douglas, Mr. Schmidt, and VCPPOA members. Apologize in advance. I'm going to offer a few more accolades. I know you need more than that, but we can't see all of you here without expressing our appreciation for what you do, for what probation officers and CSOs do in general, and your agency in particular. And we know that it's very important that the public understands the breadth and scope of the work that you do, the accountability and the rehabilitation aspect of it. And that's never been more true than now with AB 109. And there's no question but that it creates increased risk and responsibility. And so I just want to echo the fact that we hear you and we need to work through these issues with you. I know that you're working productively with agency administrative team and our office to address these critical issues of support, and we're working with you at the table. We need to do that. Recruitment is an issue, and it's something we've really worked to accelerate that process because we need to fill those positions. Just one example, I think for CSO, we have about 20 positions open, and we have over 100 applicants that are being processed right now, and we're really trying to expedite that because you need more people to support. And so I would just say, again, thank you for being here and for your testimony, and we look forward to working with you at the table.
I would just want to also echo that and just say that your safety is paramount to us, because your safety means that our community is safe too. So we really do appreciate the work that you do and look forward to having a good resolution to our contract negotiations.
I just have one question. I'm the first supervisor who had a chance to see the survey because it started with me, so everybody else hasn't had a chance to do that. And my question, and we may not be able to answer at this point in time, the probation agency survey indicates Ventura County 8th out of the 8 surveys. Does the management survey indicate the same, or do we know what's the management?
It does not. I haven't seen that one, so I'm not familiar with what that says. But I think
there's a disagreement.
There's a difference of opinion as to that.
Okay.
But in fairness, I haven't seen that, so we need to look at it. And this is part of the process, is to gather the information and look at it, evaluate it, and have that discussion so we can understand it better. And some of our information also is, maybe 6 to 12 months old, so we're in the process of updating that as well.
Well,
So
I appreciate having this. This is helpful for us.
And then we have to talk about the differences in the services at the time it's appropriate.
Great, thanks. Thank you.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I just want to thank all of you for being here today, and I think it's important that public safety, to me, is extremely important, to keep our citizens safe and to keep yourself safe. And I want to thank you for your concerns, and definitely your thoughts and what you were sharing today will be taken into consideration. I would thank all of you for being here today, and thank you for the good work that you're doing. Thank you.
Certainly, just thank you. It's important that you're here and that we listen to you. And as you've heard from the dais, we are very committed to work through this the best way we can, both for the good of the organization, but also to keep good, qualified, and skilled and committed probation officers and such as yourself and all of you in the room and all of you who do the good work for us day in and day out. AB 109 was a significant public policy change. We understand and know the importance of that, and I would just say is that from myself that I think it's also very important that we succeed in that, because we believe in public safety is working early on with prevention, intervention, and working with the population to keep them and help them to become good citizens in our community. So thank you. We'll work through it.
Let me just say to the people who spoke, thank you for professional comments. We've had other people come up here and almost demean their own agencies, and I don't want to see that happen because you guys are very professional what you do. No matter what's out there, you never compromise, and I hate to hear some of those kind of compromises. But you're professional with your comments, and that's well appreciated, because some people get into this because we're going through negotiations and say a lot of things against their own agency or their own, and I've heard it in the public going, wow, I never thought about that. I thought it was always running well. It's in negotiation. So, and so you guys are very professional in your comments, and I appreciate that, because don't ever demean yourselves for the professional work you do. And we're here to try to make it work for everybody. So thank you very much. Appreciate you all coming today. Okay.
It's up to you.
Lucas there. Thank you.
So I'd like to point out that these overworked and underpaid probation officers would have less work to do if there wasn't senseless enforcement of the arcane drug laws in this country. If we were to have the Congress repeal the Controlled Substances Act, then there wouldn't be a bunch of people that need medical help, known as drug addicts, in the prison industrial complex, and so these folks would be able to focus on rehabilitating more violent criminals. So I appreciate the work that they do, and I hope they don't have to waste their time on drug addicts. Syria's on my mind. You guys went on vacation, but democracy didn't go on vacation, and war certainly didn't go on vacation. On August 21st, 2013, the Bashar al-Assad regime allegedly attacked their own people with chemical weapons. I would like you to encourage the United Nations to arrest Bashar al-Assad and take him to the International Criminal Court and determine if indeed it was him that launched this attack. I would like for you to personally and professionally, as an official board of supervisors, urge Julia Brownlee strongly and scold Dianna Feinstein for her support of this attack. Urge Julia Brownlee to vote no. She's on the fence right now, so call her at 202-225-5811. That's her D.C. office, and tell her to vote no on the authorization for use of military force against Syria. That's really important, guys. There was a sheriff shooting this weekend and another Port Hueneme officer shooting. I'd like investigations into those shootings, and I want to see the dashboard cameras to see what really happened. SF County recently decided that they're not going to cooperate with the federal government on immigration enforcement. I would like this county to do the same, to say that they're not going to cooperate with the federal government on immigration enforcement. We need to just let people in, okay? Ban on fracking, ban on offshore drilling. If there's a fracking earthquake, then the oil in the Santa Barbara Channel is going to spill all over those nice little animals that only exist on the Channel Islands. Urge Jerry Brown to get his act together with the fracking. The city of Ventura wants to do a ban on dispensaries and delivery services, which would really negatively affect the livelihood of medical cannabis patients. Urge the Obama administration to free Chelsea Manning and to drop all charges against Edward Snowden. Urge the International Criminal Court to do an investigation into what really happened on September 11, 2001. We need more community gardens. Oh, on Victoria, as you're going south, right when you're coming up to Olivas Park, there's like a center divide of concrete that's way too wide. So if you're coming up on that red light, and then those people that are trying to turn left are sitting there waiting, and then the red light turns green if you're going straight, all those people that are trying to turn left are blocking you from going straight. So people have to slam on their brakes. A 55-mile-an-hour road, people have to slam on their brakes. That's not safe. Make the center divide narrower as you're traveling south on Victoria coming up to Olivas Park. Tell Congress to vote no on authorization for use of military force in Syria. It's really important, guys. Thanks.
Thank you. Todd?
Thank you. Good morning, Board and staff. My name is Todd Collard. I'm the president of the Ventura County Arts Council, and I'm also the one who's often hanging artwork outside your offices and throughout this, we call it the Atrium Gallery, you call it the Hall of Administration. I'm here to, thank you, each of your offices, for participating with us in putting up a show on the fourth floor, which was landmarks of the 5 supervisorial districts. And while we were busy trying to get the artists to figure out which district they were in and understand there's an incorporated and unincorporated,
Everybody in the county knows exactly.
Well, many people do, and more people don't, I'm afraid. What we did try to achieve was get the involvement of your offices in this program, which we did very successfully. Another objective was to inform people throughout the county of what's the other side of the county. And I was speaking to one county staff member who was observing the images on the fourth floor of Bottle Village, which is in Simi Valley. This person had never seen it before. And what's this? So I explained a little bit about that. Another person was remarking, these beautiful hiking trails probably in the National Forest. Well, they're in Wildwood Park. So hopefully we've done through art is educate people about what really is fundamentally important about the quality of life in both sides of the county, up, down, north, south, east, and west. And I believe we've achieved that. As you probably know, we have one sort of exhibits on the fourth floor, where most of your offices are located, and others competitive shows on the lower two floors. The show we have currently downstairs is one that we all hope to emulate, and that's collaboration. Probably a lot of it spoken of or alluded to here this morning before I spoke. This is an interesting show. We've got one or more pieces of work and two or more artists working on it. So if you're looking for inspiration about collaboration with your peers or other groups, maybe the first two floors have some examples for you. We have a couple shows coming up. You're going to see work from Channel Islands University on the fourth floor, faculty-student work. And the end of the year will be work from the County Employee Show, which is always one of the favorite exhibits here. And that'll take up all the floors, all the bare walls, except probably the paneling behind you. I'd also like to take note that the Arts Organization, Arts Council, is honoring GSA for their support, really hands-on support. We know you provide the drop support for the arts, our organization, but GSA is right there day in, day out, watching to make sure we only have the proper kind of artwork on the walls, sometimes advising us about which ones need to be removed, but always very supportive and doing some rather intriguing artwork, which we continue to appreciate their flexibility. We're also moving forward with the Poet Laureate program. We expect by 2014 to have a first time a Poet Laureate for the entire county, and that process is underway now. So thank you for your support, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Just keep it up. It's an essential part of sort of the spirit around here, and I think we've all come to really appreciate how.
I know we get a lot of comments when the walls are bare for a short time, so we do our best to keep them filled.
And there was a time when the walls were always bare.
That's true. I remember those times.
There was actually resistance saying, "Oh no, we can't put stuff up." And now it's sort of like, "Well, how could you not have the stuff up, right?"
You just need to buy it. The artists are pleading for a few purchases now.
No, Todd, I think that thing of different districts and different areas of the county, because a lot of people that are up here don't spend a lot of time in East County, and I'll tell you, a lot of people in East County don't get to see all the different things that go on in Ojai and different parts that are really kind of cool. And so that's a real opportunity for people to see a lot of that. I like that idea. That's neat.
We're in the process of developing a calendar for 2014, and one of the things we're doing again to try and, build bridges is working with the caregivers of Ventura County. They connected with us and wanted a show to highlight their 30th year providing care to seniors. And so we're going to have a show here that's going to, express the range of services they provide in different sectors. And as the kickoff, they're going to have 6 or 8 different art shows throughout the county, each location featuring a certain form of art or type of art or emphasis which is in keeping with their work, such as veterans, art related to their experiences, and perhaps at the CB Museum. So that'll be another chance where we're going to try and use the arts to get people thinking and actually moving around the county, because they're going to have a passport. They can take and get stamped moving from place to place. So I would encourage you, if you or your staff have suggestions about ways we can be involved, moving the art, not just paintings on the wall, but other ways, pass those on to us. And we'll have to look into it, and resources permitting, we'll move forward on it. So.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful.
Mr. Chair, I want to thank you, Todd, for the beautiful paintings. In the mornings when you come to work with a headache and you look at the beautiful paintings, it's just refreshing to see that. It's just absolutely beautiful. The beautiful paintings of the the different districts, especially the 5th district when you come in. It really looks great.
Well, I guess sometimes it depends on which entrance you take to get to your office. We've had county council's office a little concerned for a while. We had a piece in front of their office is a little off-putting, but
We recommended that location.
I think we should do a whole thing on lawyers. That'd be really cool.
It's just a delight to be able to come here and see them. My staff one of my staff members was also looking at the picture of Bottle Village and going, "Where is that? What is that?" And so it does help to showcase really the areas in our district that are very special. And I know that we have a wonderful new website, and I know Bill Nash, for example, has some great photos on it. But maybe some of those, if the artists are okay with it, could actually become incorporated into that website photo montage. So
we're certainly open to that. We've also noticed the black monitor outside that often either is in a loop saying the same thing over and over again, and considering maybe we've put some artwork, interspersed with real messages, but we're open to all kinds of ideas. There's many ways to just make our lives more pleasant. And it doesn't have to be offensive. It could be cheerful. It can be thought-provoking. And we're happy to try to oblige.
Doing a great job.
Well, thank you for what you do to make our lives more pleasant.
Does Mr. Grosco want to look at every painting before they go up? He's an art man,
He doesn't want to be
He wants
art.
a little more Navy art. That'd be good.
Well, I'll say we've got a show coming up actually next year. City of Ventura has a program called The Big Read where they've got a grant where they're reading a book called What They Carried With Them. It's about veteran stories. And we're going to have a show in conjunction with that. We're going to be asking for work that veterans produce, or certainly on themes related to veterans from any and all wars. So there's a perfect chance.
That's great.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you. Appreciate what you do. You add up so much to the life around here. So thank you. All right. Before we go to board comments, because we're going to have a little bit of time, I'd like to see if we only have got a couple of regular items, and I know we got some healthcare people sitting here. So can we go to number 34, which is the approval of an authorization of the healthcare agency director? Who's on it? There she is, right there. Okay.
Thank you very much. Chair Foy, Supervisors, Mr. Powers, I'm Joan Araujo, the Deputy Director for Ambulatory Care for the Healthcare Agency, and I come before you today to request an acceptance of a HRSA supplemental grant in the amount of $98,732. This grant is for outreach and enrollment of Ventura County residents, and particularly homeless patients, in the Affordable Care Act expanded Medi-Cal and Covered California programs. With this, we are requesting fixed-term positions, 1.5 community service worker 1s and 1 community service worker 2. This grant is an extension of our HRSA 330H Healthcare for the Homeless grant, which was originally received in 2002. Can I answer any questions?
Yeah. Okay. You got to answer me this.
Sure.
So what are we doing any different than we did before? And this is the other one that came up here before we left.
This grant is an extension of our Healthcare for the Homeless grant with specifically targeting that population, which we may locate in other places and forums than the general population. And the public health grant did not allow for assistance actually with enrollment. It was outreach and education. And this grant allows assistance with the actual enrollment process.
When you say homeless, what do you mean by the homeless?
Those individuals that either do not have housing or are in transitional housing, and that can be classified as doubling up with someone else or living in a hotel or a transitional living center such as the Kingdom Center or RAIN.
And are all these people unemployed when they're usually at that position?
Not necessarily.
That's what I was going to say, because some of these people, I could be working at a job, something happened to me, I can't afford my housing anymore, I had to go live with somebody, but I'm
Exactly.
still employed and I have health care. are we going to spend a lot of money trying to go through people like that? I mean, trying to find those people?
No, it would only be those that we have listed as under the self-pay without any coverage.
Do you mean they've
to
already...
get them connected to a payer source.
They've come to us before?
Yes.
And they didn't have a payer source?
Correct.
And so we're going to go back after those because now we have some records to go find them? Is that
Correct.
kind of what we're doing?
Correct.
So we're not just out wandering looking for people in a sense?
You're correct.
Because, because you could go to the Kingdom, okay, who has, who doesn't, versus, to me, a lot of this has just been we spend a lot of money on stuff that when people need health care, they know it's pretty out there, they know to come.
Right.
And I struggle with the idea of just spending all this money to do the same thing that people already know. Because I've asked people some of this. Last time I voted against that because of that same issue. People said, I know they've come to me and knocked on my door and said, you could sign up for food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
I know I can, but I didn't qualify. I'd already tried once. And so we spend so much money on this stuff, and I don't know. That's why I struggle with these kind of things. But I understand what they're trying to do in the state. So, okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second.
And I would just say that I don't think that everyone knows that they can get assistance from the county in terms of helping to pay their health care. They know to go to an emergency room if they've got a problem. They know that's where they reach out to, or like the hospital. So I'm hoping that...
And I agree with that, but when they go to the hospital, then they're going to get them on that payer source and everything else. They're already doing that. That's what I'm saying.
That's our goal.
You're already doing that. You do that now.
Right, and the rules have changed starting January 1st for enrollment in the different programs, and so the general population may not be aware.
Okay, all right, thank you. Everybody voted on that, or are we missing anybody? Okay. All right, so that passes, thank you.
Thank you for your support.
All right, let's go to one more we have real quick. Supervisor Parks, do you want to do yours now?
I'd be happy to do mine anytime. This recommendation, item 35, is to ask that the Board of Supervisors establish a moratorium on parking fees at Santa Rosa Valley Park. I know we have one comment letter that just came this morning that I was looking at from one of the residents there. And this person enjoys the park, has helped volunteer at the park. And he ends his letter that if we clear the way to giving the moratorium a chance, we'll be sending a positive, welcoming message to people who would never, ever, or never even begin to consider using or renting out the facilities. And that really is a good revenue source that we have at the park, the arenas there. And we have a lot of organizations that could lease these arenas. And I'm hoping that by having a moratorium on parking fees, that will encourage their use. I've heard from many that wouldn't consider using them because of that. There are other regional arenas that don't charge any parking fees, so that's where they tend to go. But even more importantly, we have a trailhead there to a major hiking area in the city of Thousand Oaks, and a bridge that was put in there by the city for that purpose. And the city has just recently decided to add free parking there. So the parking revenue that will come if we continue to charge for parking at the park is really going to be less than anticipated. And overall, when you look at the scheme of things, I think it's more important to be welcoming and give an incentive for people to use the park instead of what we have right now, which is a disincentive. I know that we have a lot of parks in the county. There was an article in the paper today that said that we charge parking at all the parks, but that's not really the case. That's the only parks that we charge parking for are the regional parks. In my district, there's one park. It happens to be a regional park, but it's really considered like a local park to the community. But I think from a marketing perspective, from a public service perspective, being able to have people park for free and access hiking is a very positive thing for our county. And I think the aggravation of having the fee there isn't worth the revenue, which isn't very substantial to begin with. So I would ask that the board support my motion and allow for a moratorium on parking fees at Santa Rosa Valley Park. And I don't believe we have any speaker cards, so if I could make the motion, I would do it. There,
Okay.
I did it.
Do you have any comments, Supervisor Long? Or?
I'm a second to motion. Couple comments. One, our Parks Department is constantly trying to stretch dollars, and we've constantly been trying to come up with additional dollars. So it's not something that I take lightly to sort of say we're going to decrease the revenue coming in. The fact that this is a moratorium and not sort of a, means we're going to take a look at this and see what the impacts are of not having the parking fee, and in terms of trying to create something and see what happens with the horse arena and all of that. And then the other issue about our local parks versus regional parks. Our local parks are not charging for parking, and our regional parks are. And I view this park as some kind of hybrid. It's obviously very much for the Santa Rosa people. It is like a local park. For the but the fact that you have it's a regional park, and particularly with the equestrian center there and all of that. So mindful that the Parks Department needs to have continue to have support, I think, and what our parks do provide something really valuable to our citizens. I'll support this but with the idea that it's a moratorium, it's not a forever kind of thing in terms of that, and go from there. So that's
Well, I have a question that, if I might, is the moratorium for 1 year?
Well, what I've suggested, and I didn't add to when I said the motion, but is to have the Parks Department provide us some information on a yearly basis so we have an idea of what kind of revenue is coming into that park. So to me, I think that will be helpful in making a decision in the future. And when you're talking about, maybe raising $5,000 in parking fees, and yet you have an arena that's not being used at all, and if you can remove those fees and get that use, I think that's something that we need to consider. So that to me, it will be helpful to find out as we see the reports in the future.
Well, a couple questions. And I see where the city, Thousand Oaks, is proposing the same thing, but it's my understanding that their free parking is only for a limited number, 12 vehicles or so, and that no horse trailers will be allowed to park there?
From what I understand, talking with the Public Works Director, they're going to be moving some boulders around and making a good parking area. So that will discourage people from paying to park, certainly.
And one of the other things I know our Parks Department has is an annual pass that I think they're trying to promote, and we should promote more, that would cost $55 a year or $25 a year for 60 years or older. So if we were to promote annual passes, then there wouldn't be that per vehicle, per visit charge, particularly for this arena if, in fact, the experience shows us over a period of time that it's more of a regional use.
I hope it is, but right now it isn't looking very good, and I just really think if we're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every year subsidizing our parks, what is $5,000 in the scheme of things for one park? And it makes it more welcoming. It will make it usable, and like I said, it's pretty insignificant the amount of money that will be raised as a result of this measure. I mean, as a result of using parking to try to capture the revenue to run that park. It's just not happening. It's very small, and to me, with all the parks that we have throughout the county, I think one district has almost a dozen parks, and so a lot of funds are being spread throughout the various districts. And to me, this just isn't worth the discouragement.
So do you anticipate, Supervisor, if we lift this parking fee and promote this more, that arena activity, and we get a percentage of gate? Is that what's
No,
currently
it's the
in place?
arena. The rental of the arena is where the revenue, I think, will be. And I don't think we're going to get arena revenue, and that's what this one letter writer pointed out. We have Pony Club, we have the 4-H Club, we have ETI. We have the ability to start leasing this thing out and getting shows, and that's one of the efforts of the ribbon cutting. It's just to get it out there in the community that you can come rent these arenas. But I think if we don't put some incentives there and do some good marketing, we're not going to get that good revenue that we could be when people rent the arenas, the permits that they get, and spread that word. It's definitely a discouragement for leasing these if we continue having this parking fee.
Well, let me ask this. Would you be open to putting a moratorium for 1 year and we revisit this in a year?
If you'd like, I would be happy to do that. My thought on it is we have always have that opportunity to come back and say, we need that revenue. We really need that revenue, so let's get rid of the moratorium. But right now, I just don't see that as a critical element, and I know it will decrease our ability to get the real revenue stream going.
I just think, and I know the board every year as we go through budget, we have that opportunity. I just think that to be able to say to the Parks Department that we're going to do this for a year, see what advances we can make, perhaps the board future discussion on this regional fee and how we can help to promote that, the one pass for all parks fee, to help do that. We gave significant funds in the budget discussions this year for the parks, and we all want to have our parks used more and to support the Parks Department in their efforts. And I'm going to be reporting on Steckel Park that later this morning, and the community that stepped up to really help that project. And I know your community has too. Yeah. Santa Rosa has.
They just
significantly.
donated $10,000.
Right.
So it just, to me, it just seems like we should be able to afford this. And it's a shame that we're in a position where we say our parks should pay for themselves. And so there are different ways to get those parks, trying to get to be revenue neutral, though very few are. And one of them are, for example, arenas. And yet, if we're at the same time charging parking, we're not going to, I think it's, counterproductive. So I just really think we need to go for this model and do everything we can to encourage people to come to the park. And that's not happening.
I'll be open to supporting this if we can say in 1 year we'll revisit this. Just because then we have a clear message that we're going to revisit it in 1 year and see how it's doing.
Let me just ask a question. Yeah. Let me just ask a quick question here, and because I know that back in 2004, Supervisor Parks, you brought a letter that we would use some enterprise funds to do this, and I think it was like $11,000 or $1,100 and something $1,000 anyway. So coming up next year, we're going to be in this thing $110,000. So we've got a lot of money, like you said, Supervisor. We've got a lot of money in this. But I'd like to ask Ron if you'd come up and just answer a couple questions, because I think Supervisor Long's correct. We got a lot of issues going on with a lot of parks, and the old adage is, a little bit here, a little bit there, small, from a Navy guy, small holes sink big ships, and we got to be very careful. So right now, we've invested a lot, and you guys have done a lot, and Supervisor Parks has done a tremendous job of getting community support to try to do that kind of stuff. But where are we in, how much do we spend a year on this park right now? I know you had brought that, I don't remember what it was, you had some numbers there last time.
Our last fiscal year that closed out, we had $26,000 invested into this park. Most of the park was closed because it was under construction, and just the restroom facilities, sewer, water, trash, and some staff time that we had for weed abatement and tree planting out there, we had $26,000. To date this year, I've already got $12,000 in staff time, budgetary staff time out there, and our baseline for the park is $11,500 a year. So we're already over $20,000 invested into this year, and we're only a quarter in. I'm estimating well over $30,000 in expenses this year at that park.
So, and that's without the offset of any revenue?
That's with zero revenue offsets. The park itself, the arenas will only generate maximum generation, and that's stretching the language of the CUP to its maximum, because the language specifically states no more than 24 events a year are allowed. And it's under the ag section of the CUP because of the ag area and dust abatement requirements. Stretching that to a 2-day event That's why I'm using the word event instead of days, because the CUP says events, not days. We would only pull in, under our current fee structure, $7,500.
So no matter what we do, we're still going to lose $25,000 a year.
Yes.
So, and then if you add this on top of it, we're good, because you're making an estimate you're going to make $5,000 or $10,000 a year in parking.
We budgeted $5,000 for gate
you did,
fees.
okay, so.
And we only budgeted $350 for rental. Because our average at Soul Park, which is our other equivalent to this park as far as arenas are concerned, is only 5 to 6 rentals a year, and ETI is our biggest customer out there.
Right, and understand a little bit of the horse meeting, because in that whole area, you can go over off of Sunset Road, and they've got those other, where they do a lot of that kind of stuff. You go up into Simi, where they do it up at Hummingbird, where they do all that, the big arena stuff. So it's very, that's understanding this, a little bit of the horse community. There's not going to be a lot of those shows, like you said. It's going to be, if you could get 26, it would be unbelievable, because I don't know where there's that many going on anyway to do that. The other thing is, I look at this is, if I'm a horse person and I'm bringing my trailer and I'm bringing my horse and I'm doing all that stuff, I can afford to pay $4 or $3 or whatever it is for parking. I mean, I don't think that ever deters anybody from the parking issue.
We sold, the passes were brought up by Supervisor Long. We estimated well over 60 passes have been sold for this park already.
Okay, so people are willing to pay for it already. We've already shown that. And the issue is, I guess I look at, if you were to say on all of our parks, in the economic areas where they are, you're talking about Santa Rosa Road, this is a pretty high-end economic area. And the people who usually come from the surrounding to go there is probably a little bit higher economics than some of the other areas you have your parks. You would probably say, if I was going to reduce where people get a free parking, it's probably going to be in a lot of different areas, right? It could be closer to some of the areas of the other that have less economic ability to pay. So I look at that in the sense that, so I guess I'm already struggling, because what you're telling me is what I'd seen before. We already, back in 2004, we had the enterprise fund put a whole lot of money into the park. We voted a whole lot of money into this park over the years. We got lots in it, and now you're telling me we're losing $20,000 or $30,000 a year on it.
And there's no financial way for us to make that up.
Yeah.
We will run in the red at the end of the day with the gate fees, without the gate fees, maximum rental use, and the gate fees. We are still not going to break even. Arena maintenance is very expensive. We have to water the arenas. We have to hold the dust down. That's why we have to water them. So we have a water bill to water the arenas, like watering grass almost. And then they have to be, as well as you know, they have to be drugged.
Yeah,
or they compact. So we got the dragging maintenance, and we have the water on the arenas, whether they're used or not. That has to happen, and that can be $3,500 a year just in dragging fees, and not counting the water bill, which I don't know what's going to be yet, because we don't have a full year of watering.
And we know
yet.
where water costs are going, and so
Yep.
that's a growing number on top of where we're going. And I guess there's other parks I look at too that we are people are already paying. People are leasing parks from us and using it and paying a lot of money, and then they also have to pay to park when their people come to that we're already. It's not even like we're getting all this money on top. We're leasing this park to someplace, and then we're paying. So we already have other parks out there that tenants are paying to use the things we give them. Then the people who come to them have to pay to park. So I guess I'm struggling with the idea of how this thing works, and it puts your department. Every year I've been here, since I got here, this whole thing about parks, just trying to find money. And you've told us that you've got how much money and how much requirement and maintenance that needs to go out there, right? That $10,000 or $20,000. Give me that over the next 10 years, and give me $100,000. I can do a lot of maintenance on $100,000 if I'm losing extra $10,000 or $50,000. I guess I just struggle with that idea. And for the rest of us, I mean, there's a whole lot of other parks. I'm sure Supervisor Zaragoza said there are a lot of parks in my area I'd love to see that was free for people to do stuff. And I appreciate you wanting to do the moratorium to look at it, but at some point, I don't know if we really want to go down a path, because if we get there, it was free. Now it's not free. What are you doing charging me? We get people screaming at it because people hate change when we get there. I mean, it's a park. It's what we do. We're not going to make it very expensive. If you want to come hike for 3 or 4 hours, it costs you $4 or $5 to park. If there's an open space in the Thousand Oaks Park, you made it. You can walk across. I mean, this is really difficult for us to want to do this when you're coming to us quarter after quarter saying we're struggling trying to maintain what the quality of parks you as a supervisors want in your districts. I think it's really difficult to want to do that. And I know this puts you in a bad spot, and I appreciate you willing to come up and answer the questions, but at least you're being very clear and honest that we're losing money and we're going to continue to lose money. There's no way to make money here.
The Parks Department is much healthier today than it was a decade ago.
Right.
Thanks to your board's help in allowing us to get backlogs of maintenance done, the grants that we were able to capitalize on, Prop 12, Prop 40 grants, to be able to reinvest into the parks and bring more customers to the facilities to help us offset our operating costs. So, the old adage that used to live payday to payday, that's exactly what we were doing not more than 5 or 6 years ago. We were living payday to payday. Today I can take the kids to the movie at least. But we're not there yet. We're still a ways away, and we're inheriting more facilities that don't have a money trail. We're unfortunately, it's fortunate but unfortunate. We're getting Pyru facilities. We're finishing the skate park up at Pyru. We've got the Pyru Trail that is coming to us, and neither one of those generate any revenue. So we're going to have to absorb our operating costs there also. And we got the Shelf Road Trail, which is not that expensive, luckily, to do, but it was another trail that's been added to our inventory.
Where you have no opportunity to charge any kind of parking.
Absolutely. So we are getting more costs added and not finding the revenue sources to help offset those additional costs.
And that's one of the reasons why the county put in over $1.4 million in the last 2 years just in deferred maintenance on parks that aren't in Santa Rosa Valley or in my district, because it doesn't need deferred maintenance at this point, as well as a couple $100,000 every year to assist local parks. But you look at the parks throughout the county, the model doesn't work. We're not going to be able to make parks sustainable. And I can just reel off, all the different parks and how much, we're paying. And we have to subsidize these. And some park districts out there have assessments, tax assessments, and they get funds. So we can either decide not to have parks, which is what the county did before I came on the Board of Supervisors, started trying to get rid of parks because they can't afford them, or we decide that we're going to take them, we're going to build it, and we're going to let people use them and encourage them to use them. But for example, I think we have something in the neighborhood of $78,000 in one district that's going to subsidize parks. $64,000 from another district going to subsidize parks. We aren't there. Another district, it's 18,000. So
but we've already put hundreds of thousands into this park.
It's water under the bridge, Supervisor Foy. If you're going to build a park, you'll never make up the cost to build the park in our lifetimes, because parks, once you build them, they're there. Now, do you want to just lock the gate or charge fees to get people to use them? And this is, as Supervisor Bennett said, has that hybridness of being very much like a local park. It's used daily by local residents, but it has the benefit of having the arena, so we can make money. It's just we are cutting off our nose to spite our face by charging a fee, discouraging people from using the arenas, and they have free parking right next door. So why would you charge for parking and have people,
Like I said, they can't get free right next door.
Supervisor? I can support that one-year moratorium. The concern that I have, the 1 year to look at it, is because my concern is that we would not set a precedence for other parks, to also request that. And of course, hopefully that additional dollars that the supervisor is talking about might cover those fees. If it does not cover those fees, then we ought to charge that parking fee again. The parks are supposed to be self-supporting enterprise, and we're actually looking at trying to get it self-supporting, and we haven't because of the deficits. One of the things that I think that was said in the report, that there's some of the individuals there that worked on that park would really put a lot of volunteering work and so forth. Maybe some of those individuals might want to be given a complimentary pass, to...
Well, and they were talking about how many passes were given out, but I know a lot of free passes were given to the rangers, the Trail Advisory Committee that goes out there and works it. But even Soul Park with its arena is losing $77,000 a year. So I just, in my mind, we're talking $5,000. It's not even worth this amount of time at the Board of Supervisors, the headache that it's causing. That's how I look at it. It's not significant enough.
It's $5,000 now, and it's going to be $10,000 later, and it's going to be over 10 years. It's $50,000, $100,000. He goes, well, why don't you look at this? Maybe adjust this a little bit and just say, okay, if they get an event, make the parking free at an event. That way you can't say, when you rent the thing, the event parking's free that day. That makes it easier. If you're saying it discourages events,
Well, I've
do it
got,
that way.
20-plus kids in the 4-H club that come over and want to practice there. They're not going to do that, but I would love them to practice there and think of it as their home park. And the same thing with the little pony club that they have out there. Let the kids come out there and use the arenas. Once they have an event, yeah, we charge and all that. But it just, you're
But how many kids really come out there?
discouraging the use of something that we put in place to be used.
The parking
So
fees,
why
what's
do that?
$2 weekdays and $4 on weekends?
Yeah, I
It's-
mean, it's so
it's a
expensive.
minimal.
The mother's coming over there, bringing her kid with her
But,
horse.
It sounds like a little bit of money, and it is a little bit of money, and it doesn't bring us very much money,
And it
but
doesn't
it's
cost
the
them
perception.
I
And
can
if people
support the
aren't
one
going to use it,
one
and we
year.
want to
As was
incentivize
mentioned
their
by
use.
the supervisor. 1 year, let's look
We'll
at
look
it.
at it in a year, and then we also have that opportunity then to see that once we do it, if we put a fee on it in a year, see what happens to the arena use. It might
Because like
just
Ron
drop
says,
right out.
in fact, I was talking to Ron before that, those $5,000 can then, it's going to probably, we're probably going to lose additional maintenance work and so forth. Ron, is that correct? That we're going to lose $5,000 would loss in revenues would truncate what?
There's two funding sources for that park. You got the gate fees and you have rental use. We'll take away one complete funding source. The two funding sources together, roughly $10,000 to $12,000 annually, maximum use and maximum rentals. We still have the overhead costs of maintaining those facilities regardless. There's $15,000 a year in maintenance, basic maintenance. That's no repairs, no weed abatement, no nothing. That's just to open the gates up and maintain the facilities. I'm talking $15,000 a year with no revenue to cover those costs. So gate fees would buy down part of that $15,000.
Reduce that cost.
Reduce it, even if I didn't get the facility rental. The facility rental and the gate fees are almost checkmating each other. If I get rid of the gate fees, hopefully I'll hit 24 uses and make $5,300 in uses. Or I keep the gate fees and have no uses and still get my $5,300. Or I get a combination of both and get gate fees and some rental use and come out ahead.
But if we try it for 1 year, we can look at it and see what other revenue.
I think he's gave us a good explanation. There's no way, no matter what you could do, you can't make it. You're just going to lose. I was thinking, where I was just telling Mr. Powers here, I said, I've been up hiking in Yosemite and some of these places. You got to pay to hike on these federal trails and state trails, don't you?
At Magoo State Beach, as a matter of fact, my director went hiking a couple of weeks ago at Magoo State Beach and paid $12 to park to go hike the trails.
We're not any different than any of the rest. They
all regional park systems charge.
All
to
regional
get in.
park systems charge. And so the reason is, I'm not as worried about the $5,000, but it is $50,000 over 5 or 10. It gets big, expensive. But it's a philosophy side that I think everybody's believed that we've done that statewide, nationally, and to the national parks you just pay to hike the trail. Somebody's got to maintain the trail. The person who hikes, who tears the trail or uses the trail should have pay that, because the rest of the taxpayers, none of it's paid for. It's all subsidized, right?
Well, you have in
It's
the
all
community of
subsidized.
Santa Rosa Valley, these people are maintaining it. The horse clubs do go out there and take care of it. They are planting the plants there. They're bringing
okay,
the equipment
agree.
there.
But
I mean,
it's
it
part of
isn't
their
like your
community.
normal park.
It's
It
part
is
of
a
their
park that's being, it is part
I know,
of their
it's part of their community, but I'm just saying
But they
it's-
are investing their money, their time, their labor, and so they should be able to use
But,
it.
and the whole thing is, if you really look at that, because I've been out in that area for so long, and I go out to that park and I look, it's not a highly used park for that area, because a lot of people have their own arenas. A lot of people have their own stuff. They
Well,
don't
why
really-
don't we give it a chance?
Yeah, no,
Supervisor Foy,
I
we'll
just think
find
it's a
out.
philosophy issue that we're making a policy issue here, and I think we've already had this policy issue that we will ask the parks to do whatever sustainability. They're already going to be subsidized, never going to sustain themselves. They're just being subsidized, like he said, in certain ways. And no matter what we do, we're guaranteed to lose. Here, we're hopefully trying to even at least make the 5,000. We're still going to lose because we're going to be 25,000. So the rest of the taxpayers in this community are saying, we're taking Santa Rosa Park and we're going to pay 25 grand no matter what, at the best case scenario you can provide for us. The rest of the community is still going to pay that, no matter what it is.
When you look at the East County, the East County has hardly any parks.
I
So
agree.
all the property taxes that go
I
to
agree.
parks are
I
going to
agree.
the West
I agree.
County,
I'm not, I know, but we're also county supervisors. We look for the area, and if there would have been more opportunity for parks, there would have been.
And well, it gets back to the distribution too. We want to be fair, and we want to have, all our communities have parks and be able to use them. And
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's some
I don't-
wonderful
I really
parks that go to
don't-
the beach that are up in Supervisor Bennett's district along the coast. I mean, there's some beautiful parks he has there, but they're up there.
They're bringing in good
And,
revenue.
and I think they should bring in more revenue. As I've talked to them before, people go over there and go, "That is so cheap," to be here.
My residents would like those to be no fee.
They are
No
guaranteed
fee
they'd like to
parks,
be
I
no
guarantee
fees.
you that.
I think there's some people here at the county use them and say they like to be no fees. But anyway, I just think that we should not change the policy that we've done, not as much the dollars, but the policy issue.
I appreciate the philosophical objection that is out there. I think I started off by saying because it's a moratorium, I can support it because as a moratorium, it's not a change in our policy, and I think that in general we've been defending the policy of parking fees and these other revenue generators that are out there. So the one-year moratorium, I would offer this from the other side. I think that if we don't do the one-year moratorium, that if we're a year from now and we're talking about this park, we're going to have continually have the conversation that if we wouldn't have put the parking fees on, we would have had this different kind of community reaction and support and all of that. I want to take that argument away and go, let's see, let's do it and see what we have. And after a year, a moratorium is a moratorium, and then
So you want to see if
then we
there's
take a look.
this activity and everything.
Yeah, see, does the community really step forward? How much more, arena rental is there that's out there? All of that other kind of stuff.
And you can monitor all that.
So so maybe we're going to have we're going to have this deficit either way. I'd like to not have this be part of the argument that we're having the deficit because we did this unfriendly thing. Right?
So we can look at it at the end of 1 year and see.
That's what a moratorium causes you to do.
Oh, do you have a card you want to speak on this? Did we know that? Will you bring down the card to here, please?
And if I might, I think Supervisor, I'm sure the MAC will have discussion on this, and I'd like to see over the period of time how many youth groups use this, because if there's anything we should be doing is to encourage our youth to use our parks and to have support 4-H's and support pony clubs that encourage the youth. It's
Or
not
just get those kids out
and
hiking
be
on the
able
trail.
to support them and adopt a park, do whatever we can do to offset this.
Thank you.
But I think at the end of the day, there's
Do you wanna hear
we're probably going to end up with this park in a deficit operation. Maybe not. Maybe the community say, let's adopt this park.
And they have pretty much done a lot of adopting.
They have.
But I got an email last night from the 4-H Club. It says, "Thank you, 4-H Horse Project would love to have the option of practicing in our own backyard. We don't need to reserve it. We have mounted meetings where 20-plus kids show up with horses, and we have a club practice. We work, they want to do this instead of going to Simi Valley, which is where they've been going. And so they're saying, too, that will make the difference to them.
All right, let me just have here Saul Medina.
I am Saul Medina. I'm from the resident of Oxnard. I'd like to say this arena is park has been an issue that's been raised before, especially when Supervisor Linda Parks was running for Congress at the time. And some of the mailers were exaggerated on the fact that she had made mention that this arena was needed and it would be very self-sufficient. I thought when those mailers went out were very exaggerated. But seeing that at this time you want free parking for that event, that you're spending more time on this parking fee than you did regarding the budget of the county, tell me where your priorities are. And a park such in Santa Rosa still be self-sufficient. Parks in Steckel Park, people are still highly using that area and are still paying a fee. And when you do go out there with your horses or equestrian events, you are bringing more vehicles, you are bringing trailers, and those should be self-sufficient. I think it's pretty embarrassing that we spend about half an hour regarding free parking in the Santa Rosa area. Now, if you wanted more square footage for parking in that area, before this arena was built, the assessment should have showed if people wanted more open space where there could be soccer fields, baseball diamonds, and other activities for children. In your area, you guys decided that this arena was desperately needed, even though you had some strong opposition. I agree with Chairman Foy regarding this issue. The fact that it should be more self-sufficient, that it shouldn't be a free parking. And you are setting a precedent. It's based on policy. It's not based on need. And when the director comes up here and says you're going to be in the red 25%, you're saying, well, let's be 30% in the red, $3,000 in the red. I would strongly object to this free parking for Santa Rosa residents. Why don't you bring up an assessment fee specifically for that park in your area and see if it goes through? Thank you.
Thank you for speaking. Yeah. All right. Anyway, I think we've spoke on this. Do you have? No? Okay. You're right. Okay. So what is the motion then? Because I noticed we've gone back and forth, and I would.
That we have a moratorium on parking fees and come back in 1 year and look at see if what the use of the park is.
So you bring us back in September?
It's a 1 year moratorium.
So is it 1 year moratorium that the parking fees go into effect automatically, or is it there's something the parks
We're not
can
going to
do?
charge fees for a
I
year.
don't understand that, but I'm saying, but what does the 1 year mean? Because at 1 year, does it automatically go into effect and there's fees back, or it has to come back? That's,
It
Definition of a moratorium.
yeah,
comes
okay.
back to the Board of Supervisors, and we can choose to continue
Okay,
the
so I mean,
moratorium.
that's what I meant. Or it's a moratorium, or it just automatically goes
Yeah,
in.
my understanding, it would come back to us, and we can then decide whether to continue it or to drop the moratorium. And,
Well,
and for the person who spoke, we have a lot of people who are hikers, and the fact that that was part of the revenue stream, looking at the hikers parking there. And that it's a philosophical issue. I don't believe you should have to charge to park in a park and go for a hike.
Linda, leave it.
Well, I just want to clarify, I mean, I think a moratorium means if no future action is taken, the parking fees reinstate.
That's what I was
And absent any action,
That's the definition of a moratorium.
right. So it should be brought back to the board, but if for some reason it doesn't.
If it doesn't get brought back, then automatically kicks in.
But it is going to get brought back. But you're right. But that's
That's I just find it
question.
depends, so
What
somebody
happens
doesn't say,
if-
would it
So it
what
comes
happens
back,
if
yeah.
the board tied?
Yeah, right, the board ties or
It's a
something.
moratorium.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All right, so we will now move on to, the guy was right, you could have an apartment. So let's go to our 9:30 time certain, we're a little behind. We have, we got, item 22. 23, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chairman Foy. Good morning, board members, CEO Mike Powers. My name is Tabine Cosio, Labor Relations Manager for the County Executive Office. The item you have before you is a labor contract between the County of Ventura and Service Employees International Union Local 721. This item was first presented to your board on August 6th, at which time you held the first public hearing. The item is before you again today with a recommendation from our office that you hold a second hearing. At the conclusion of that hearing, you adopt the terms of the memorandum of agreement. This is the successor agreement to the 2010-2012 memorandum of agreement between the County of Ventura and SEAU Local 721. It has a proposed duration of 3 years, effective September 10th of 2013 through August 9th of 2016. This is a comprehensive labor agreement with several changes to it, most of which were dutifully explained in detail by Director of Labor Relations, Catherine Rodriguez, at the August 6th meeting. So I'll only briefly review the more salient points of the proposed agreement. Starting with the fact that this proposed agreement achieves pension reform and also enhances transparency with respect to retirement contributions by making SAU represented members pay 100% of their employee-required retirement contribution and also an additional amount to take them up to 50% of the normal cost. This would be effective July 6th of 2014, At that same time, there would be a salary offset of equal value. In addition, the proposed agreement provides for salary increases of up to 5% in two forms. First of all, there is a general salary increase of 1% in August of 2014 and also 1% in August of 2015. In addition, there is a provision for market-based adjustments based on a total compensation market study to be completed by our office by April of 2014. If the classifications show that they are more than 3% at the market, then eligible classification titles will be eligible for a 1% market-based adjustment in August of 2014. If they are more than 6% behind market, there will be an additional 1% in August of 2015. There are also two increases to the Flex Credit Allowance Program of $312 each annually, the first being December of 2013 and the second being December of 2014. The contract also provides or establishes Veterans Day as a paid-assigned holiday beginning on November 11th, 2014, provided we secure a similar agreement with the remaining bargaining units. There is also a provision for a one-time payment of $750 for full-time represented members and also $600 for part-time represented members to be paid September 20th this year. The contract also revises some of the current contract provisions related to educational incentive. That will be converted from a cash payment to an employer-paid deferred compensation contribution effective July 6th of 2014. That would be for new hires and any new awards for existing employees. In addition, the contract will limit the cash-out provision of unused vacation time to once in the previous 12 months. Previously, it was once in a calendar year. This contract will establish FLSA as a standard for determining overtime for employees. And there are also various other contract revisions related to appropriate use of sick time for care of family members, determining workload standards within the Human Services Agency, and also some union rights. All of these are expected to be cost neutral to the county. Overall, the proposed contract in front of you has a value of 6 to 7% over the 3-year term, and that is sustainable within the county's budget. The contract was ratified by the SAU Local 721 membership on Friday, August 30th, and so our office now presents the proposed agreement to you to conduct, with a recommendation to conduct a second hearing and adopt the terms of that agreement at the conclusion of the hearing. As I just described, this is the comprehensive labor agreement that could not have been accomplished by my own efforts. There was a large number of individuals associated with the successful resolution to this bargaining table. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to acknowledge those individuals, also acknowledging that I'm probably leaving out quite a few individuals. First, I'd like to thank the bargaining team, Jim Dabowski and Yvonne Martinez and Catherine Rodriguez, my Director of Labor Relations, for their support. The CEO, executive staff, CEO Mike Powers, thank you very much. Paul Dursey, Matt Carroll, and also from CEO's office, Callie Shirk, the Director of Human Resources, and her staff, particularly Kelly Akers and Tracy Sewell, who provided me with just a vast number of data sets in order to complete a lot of the provisions that we were able to accomplish in this. Mr. Jeff Berg, the Auditor Controller staff, your staff was valuable in being able to turn our concepts of pension reform and offsets and educational incentives and put them into actual application and practice within the payroll system. Thank you to Valerie Barraza, Charlene Madney, and Garrick Leedy. County Counsel Leroy Smith and Matt Smith for their legal counsel during the negotiation process. And of course to your Board of Supervisors for the clear and guiding principles on which this proposed agreement is based. And lastly, I would like to thank Pam Fair. She led the negotiations for SAU Local 721, and her staff, Aram Agdayan, and her entire bargaining team and SAO staff. They ran a very well-organized and professional campaign during this negotiation, and all that served to help the parties reach an agreement that was amicable to both. With that, I conclude my comments. and I'm available to answer any
Yeah.
questions.
Let me just say, Demean, that was an excellent presentation. I appreciate you going through the detail of it. And I got to compliment you and your staff, Mr. Powers, his staff, for helping us, the board, coming together with so much detailed information of things you pulled back from years and years, so we completely understood everything. That I had to tell you, for the first time being here for almost 7 years, I really truly understood all the different detailed pieces of this, and you guys were very good about bringing that to us, and it really made a difference in this, and truly trying to find a balance so that it worked for everybody, it worked for the taxpayer, that we could afford what we did, find the ways to make it work, and so again, thank you, Ms. Powers, thank you for your time, and Matt and the rest of the group of staff that made that happen for us, because if you look at, we have a binder about this thick with so much information of all the different details, what it means, how does it work, what does it do, how did it work before, and it was just something else. So I know it was critical. Sir.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I want to add to that too. I want to thank SEIU and the operating engineers and our management staff. This agreement affects probably over 5,000 plus employees, and I just want to thank the employees for all the work they've done. Our work has increased tremendously, and they continue to work, at a level that's commendable to our constituency. I've been here almost 5 years, and this is the first time I've really given our employees a raise, and I think it's well deserved. And I want to thank the two unions, for the work they've done, and also thank our staff, and thank you, Tabeen and Mr. Powers and the staff. And as the chairman said, we do have a book that's about that thick, and we're starting another one too of options and how we could help our employees. But I just want to thank all the membership for their vote of confidence and for working with us. I think it's important that the whole idea is to support and service our constituency, and that's what we're here for. And you have done that in a commendable job. All the employees that have signed and approved this contract, and I just want to commend you for excellent work. Thank you.
It's appropriate that we appreciate the work of the CEO's office and staff, but I think it's also appropriate that we recognize the leadership of SEIU. Our largest union has sort of set the standard here as we moved into this negotiating season and stuff. So I want to congratulate them for being leaders in this field also, and great work by Sabine and everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Foy. Just to say too, there'll be a test on that book later. Just saying. No, to echo Supervisor Bennett's comments as well, really do want to recognize Rachel Flores, the leadership team from SEIU. This was a robust and professional negotiation that you conducted. And I think there's a lot of moving parts, as we've heard, but it strikes that balance between dealing with our pension and fiscal challenges, but providing much needed, well-deserved raises for the very talented and dedicated employees that we have. So, and that couldn't have happened without our partnership. And it's an ongoing partnership. Because of this agreement here today, this is a great milestone, but we continue with our partnership day after day moving forward, and we look forward to that. Thank you.
And because of, like you said, if people are out, we're going to look at ways to help bring them up if they are. And so it's going to be an ongoing partnership. And again, Rachel, appreciate it. We made some comments about some other bargaining units we're in today and about your professionalism and bringing that together. So anyway, this is a public hearing. Unless there's any other comments, I will open the public hearing. Do we have any comments? Anybody want to make comments?
Rachel,
we have one, Rachel? Oh, there she is. Okay, Rachel.
Good morning, Supervisors, Chairman Foy, CEO Powers. My name is Rachel Flores, Regional Director for SEIU 721 Tri-Counties. As you have heard, SEIU members voted to approve the last best and final offer that was sent to them by your county team. SEIU conducted an extensive educational campaign across the county. Members cast informed votes, and with your approval, we'll soon have an agreement in place. We look forward to continuing to foster our relationship with the county while advocating for the professional men and women that we serve. Overall, the last best and final offer from the County of Ventura can be viewed as a springboard looking towards to the future. We heard several comments from our membership, and I take each one of them sincerely. Some felt this was not the best offer. Some felt it was a way to move forward, and they voted according to how they felt. SEIU is committed during this time, until we go back to the table, to continue to empowering, to organizing, mobilizing, uniting our membership, however it is that we have to, with our rallies, so that members can stand strong and be ready for the next bargaining session that comes around. There's still some ifs. We still have some concerns. We're proud that we're getting a Veterans Day, but it's if everyone else gets it. The overtime issue is of high concern to our membership. We're waiting to see what the other unions do. And as unions do, we will stand in solidarity with them when they call on us. Workload. Workload is a big issue, and I look to you for your leadership and ask for your support. We have workers working so much overtime. That's not always the solution. We're not advocating that overtime go away either, but there are other solutions that we should look at when it comes to workload, because people are out the door at some of our workplaces, and I invite you to go to some of those workplaces so that you can see. We want to do a good job, but it's like that assembly night. I don't know if you ever remember that one Lucy show when she was making chocolates, and she had to start putting chocolates in her mouth and under her hat. Believe it or not, oftentimes workers feel like that. Where can I hide a case? That shouldn't be the solution. So I know that we're going to work together on that because we want to provide excellent services. Market-based premium. We tried to discuss this and make some movement on it. The HCA system uses it as a recruitment tool because it's hard to recruit pharmacists and radiologists. It's hard to recruit good staff. But what the market-based premium does not do, it does not reward the committed employees who have been there for a long time, who are committed. And it's because of them that we are a level 2 trauma center. We have to look at that. The market-based adjustment, we have a commitment from the county to sit down with the committee of staff and members, and we look forward to that happening. Thank you for your time. God bless you, and all my respect to the members for the opportunity to serve them. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. All right, Supervisor.
Just some quick comments. I know we've got agenda here, but thank you for your leadership and for your bargaining team that stayed at the table, tough discussions. And the book that's been mentioned has been, we have, as a board, been fully engaged and concerned and worked through what I hope is a solid contract for the next couple of years, knowing full well that the employees have gone for years without any increases in support, and now things are catching up with everyone, and we know that the workloads have been do more with less, but appreciate that we've reached agreement here, and we now have both trust and appreciation for one another and the work across the table that's been discussed to move forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for your championship on Veterans Day, Rachel. I know it's very personal for you.
Well, I think at a time now where, if I may, where our country is, it's even more special, I think, to recognize, because we could have a situation.
And Mr. Chairman, I also wanted, Veterans Day was very important to the membership and to me personally, and I've heard that over and over again from the membership. So I think it's important that Veterans Day be part of the bargaining and the day off for our employees.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also want to express my appreciation for the professionalism, and also very glad that we were able to get Veterans Day thanks to your leadership on that too. And it's also nice to be in a position where we're not taking back, but we're actually able to give some increases. I'm really glad to be able to do that, but all in a framework of also being able to get some control on pension costs. So really appreciate that we were able to work well together and get this resolved and move on. So thank you so much, and the good work that your employees and SEIU does for our county.
Thank you, Supervisor. Thank you, always.
Okay, so we have any more comments on this? If we don't, then we'll close this hearing, and then we will, no more comments by the board. We have a motion. We have a second. And we'll vote. And there we go. Thank you very much. I know we have another one, don't we, Demi?
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 24.
Thank you, board members. The item before you is a labor agreement between the County of Ventura and International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 501, IUOE.
This item was first presented to you also on August 6th, at which time you held your first public hearing. It is now being presented to you again with a recommendation that you hold a second public hearing and adopt the terms of agreement at the conclusion of this hearing. As with the contract we just discussed with IOE, has the same duration of 3 years, effective September 10th, 2013 through August 9th of 2016. As to the major provisions related to pension reform, salary increases, MBA, educational incentive, FLSA overtime are all the same. So I will go ahead and, for the sake of time, not discuss those. There are some minor provisions that are unique to the contract. For instance, we revised how we treat safety shoe vouchers for this unit, and also we provided a benefit for long-term disability for the representative members to be effective at the end of this month. Besides that, there are no other major deviations from the SEIU contract. The IOE membership overwhelmingly ratified this agreement on Monday, August 26th. So now we present this to you with a recommendation from our office to to approve the agreement at the conclusion of the hearing. The same players were in play in this agreement as with the other one, with the exception that Yolanda Walker from HR was my second chair, and she provided an inordinate amount of support. And also Yvonne Martinez from Labor Relations. She's finding herself to be a ubiquitous and utility player in this process, and I thank her very much for her support and participating. With that, I'll turn it to your board.
Well, great. I know we have the same comments and the same compliments, and so that's good. Mike?
One thing I'd add is Mr. Cosio has handed out lots of praise to other folks, which is great, but I want to really recognize his leadership of these two tables. It was a very challenging and complex negotiation, and he did an excellent job, and we got to a great result, so thank you.
Yeah, no question. All right, so we have a public hearing. Do we have any comments on this public hearing item? No comments? Okay, then we'll close the public hearing. Any other comments from the board? If not, we already have a motion from Supervisor Zaragoza, second by Supervisor Long. Thank you again. We look forward to working with our other bargaining units and moving forward with all this.
And thank you for the engineers too. Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're going to take a 3-minute break.
Oh, poor Dr. Fankhauser.
Oh, that's right. He's going to pay more. He recruited this beautiful family to come with him, so.
Thank you, Mr. Foy. And this is, and we've had the Fankhauser family be able to watch some of the other things that we do here, and it's always a real pleasure to do these things when you have talented people that are leaving, and we try to spend a minute to let them know how much we appreciate them. And one of the things that we do is we always try to officially read sort of their bio here. And so it's going to be a pleasure to do that and recognize one of the real stars of our healthcare agency, Dr. John Fankhauser, who's gracing us with his family here also. So I'm going to ask them all to come up, Dr. Fankhauser and his wife and two daughters to come on up. And if you'll please approach the podium. There we go. All right. Oh, and father-in-law. I'm sorry. Thank you very much. Yes. Come on up. All right. We got to have
bring
the whole
group.
family here.
That's
Right? There we go. Thank you for that reminder. Well, as we will hear from your other colleagues that are here, I'm sure Mr. Powers, et cetera, and as was mentioned last week when there was the recognition of Dr. Fankhauser at the hospital, and many of his colleagues were there, and there were great things, and he's still working, turning his cell phone off. I just want to say personally, there are people that make, it's the people that make the healthcare agency really work, and you're one of those people that you're infectious with your professionalism in terms of everybody else. So thank you very much. And our loss is going to be Liberia's gain, to a large extent. But if you would let me read this for a moment. This is a resolution of the Board of Supervisors of Ventura County honoring and commending Dr. John Fankhauser. Whereas Dr. John Fankhauser graduated from the University of Washington School of Medicine in 1989, Dr. Fankhauser completed his residency in family medicine at Ventura County Medical Center in 1993. He completed a fellowship at the Medical Center in 1994. He became a respected member of the Faculty of Family Medicine residency in 2002, and he became the medical director for the Ventura County Medical Center and the Santa Paula Hospital in 2007, and has continued in that role as a highly esteemed professional. Dr. Fankhauser chose to devote his expertise and passion for health care to the people who reside in Ventura County. And Dr. Fankhauser and his family will be leaving Ventura to participate in a medical mission in Liberia, a country that is going through a rebirth after years of civil war, to help rebuild a hospital there as well as develop a family medicine residency to help improve health care in that country. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Ventura County Board of Supervisors takes great pleasure in honoring and recognizing the exemplary care and outstanding professionalism of Dr. Fankhauser and wishes him and his family well on his journey to Liberia and look forward to welcoming him back on his return to Ventura County because we certainly need him to come back and be part of our system, and we certainly hope that happens. Dr. Fankhauser, before I bring that down, I'm going to ask, I know a number of people want to say something, and so I won't confuse that by being down there with the resolution and stuff. So Dr. Gonzalez is heading this way.
Thank you, board members and Mr. Powers, and it's good to see John here with his family. I've known John since that date that he started as a resident, going back, gosh, how long, John? 23 years. And I've seen him grow from being a house officer in our program to a fellow in obstetrics and gynecology to working in one of our clinics, being a faculty member, a really esteemed core faculty member, and then on to medical director of the hospital. And as I've said before, John has a very strong moral compass, and it's one of the things that helps guide our system. To have somebody with so much integrity dealing with the myriad of problems that come up before the medical director of the hospital, and to have him so well grounded in things that are good and decent in all of us, and that do emphasize advocacy for patients, and also the very best in being a medical doctor. And John is all of that. And I am going to just tell John, one of the most, I want you to come here, because one of the most meaningful times in my memory with you was one night at the hospital when one of our fellow doctors was having trouble. And John was a resident, I was one of the attendings, and we spent several hours sitting, each of us, one on each side of the other doctor, kind of talking to him and trying to reassure him and helping him through what was a very difficult emotional time. And it was at that time that I was able to touch John's soul a little bit and feel what he was all about. So I'm really going to miss you, John. And I do look forward to you coming back, and appreciate all that you've done.
Thanks for everything you've done.
And Cindy Cole?
Well, I've known Dr. Fankhauser just as long as Dr. Gonzalez has, and he was a really, wet behind the ears resident when I first met him in the emergency room. And since that time, I've watched him grow into an amazing healthcare provider and a tremendous leader. I do have to give thanks to Mike for his recognition of Dr. Fankhauser's potential when you tapped him on the shoulder to become the medical director. We've gone through some tremendous things at the hospital since then, and Dr. Fankhauser has risen to every occasion, and I feel very proud and privileged to be in the role I'm in now and to have the relationship I have with him, and I do hold him to the thing that he said, that he will be back And so I thank you, and John, I thank you for all of the years we've worked together.
Mr. Powers?
Thank you. Thank you. Board members, you said it, Supervisor Bennett, that our system is a special system, but it's about the people. And I can't think of anybody who represents our system better than Dr. Fankhauser. His compassion, his kindness, his warmth, the way he treats patients. I've been fortunate enough to have many loved ones treated by Dr. Fankhauser, and I couldn't feel more blessed for that. And I think it's so appropriate that his family is here today, because I think he makes all his patients and his colleagues feel like they're part of his family. And I think that's just extra special. Also, during these challenging times that Cindy talked about, what's amazing to me is, and there have been a few, right, John? Just a few. But no matter what, the sky is falling down left and right. John is always calm with a big smile and saying, "What's happening, bud?" And it's just that positive energy. Bless you. We got a great doctor here. And also recruiting and attracting some of the best physicians around, because I think that's very important to us, because not only is he a great physician on a one-to-one basis, but people see that, so he spreads that ability in his leadership role throughout our system and as a teacher in our excellent residency program. So the impact that you've had on our system, John, is just immeasurable, and I'm just proud to call you a colleague and a friend, and I wish you and your family a safe and successful trip. And we can't wait to hear the stories and welcome you back. And the supervisor and I were very excited to hear that you are only renting your house. You haven't sold it. So thank you for everything.
Okay. Supervisors?
Yes, if I might too. Certainly much has been said, and all of it just so very true and honest and heartfelt. And I've appreciated the relationship and knowing that whenever we were confronted with big challenges, you stood strong and said, "We can do this. We have a strong system," and you believe in it. And as was said, you've helped us recruit the best and the brightest and to lead us forward. We have a strong bench, and it's been because of your leadership, John, and I truly appreciate it always that you've been one to look to and trust fully that we're in the right direction. And look forward to you. Please have a safe trip, and please do come back.
Doctor, it's I want to commend you and your family for traveling for 3 years to Liberia to rebuild that hospital, to volunteer, and it's just such a sacrifice, from your wife and the family. I just like to commend you for the work that you're going to do, and I know you're going to do well. And like everybody says, we want you back. And thank you so much again for volunteering. Thank you.
Just wish you and your family all the best, and you obviously have a very big heart to do what you're doing, and thank you also for setting the bar at our medical facilities. And I know that you have really set the stage that helps us to continue on and have that legacy before you. So thank you so much.
Let me just say that when we do these things, you get to hear a history, and I appreciate the history that Supervisor Bennett put out, because I see you on Wednesday mornings early in the morning, and you're ready to go, and everything's there and always on top of it. But and I looked at you as a tremendous leader, and Mike could talk about you, but when you get to hear the history, you see how quickly you rose to the top, not because of your leadership. And what do great leaders want to do? They want to change the world. There you go, out to change the world. I want to ask your daughters, how was it when he came home and said, "We're going to Liberia"? What? Where's that? But following good leadership, your wife, and I just want to just be blessed. And you're going with a good organization, you're going to do great work, and it doesn't happen unless people like you are willing to do it. So it's just wonderful that we have people like you willing to do this, and a family that's willing to go along. It's just exciting for us. And we'll stand firm, and they'll hold that spot, and you'll be back. I have a feeling that within 3 years they'll be able to bring you back, but it'll be great to see the work that you do over there and your family does. And it's going to be, I know a lot of kids that went when their parents went on missions to do great things, and it's going to be a great experience for all of you. And it's not going to be easy in different culture and everything, but you're going to have a great time. But your dad's going to do good work. Your family's going to do good work. Anyway, we're going to miss you, but we know you're going to do something wonderful for the world. So thank you for what you're doing, and be blessed.
Supervisor Foy, before we ask for some sage words from Dr. Fankhauser before he leaves, I just want to point out, as you mentioned, him going home and telling his daughters, I have the benefit of knowing something that he may not share, but it's his daughter Bethany who said, hey, time's running out. You said we were going to do this Liberia thing, and I'm getting ready to graduate. So I want to compliment Bethany for at her age saying, hey, let's get after it and stuff. So not very many high school students. Not very many high school students would have. So he's done a good job of raising daughters with good values and stuff. So Dr. Fankhauser, before I come down with this, anything that you'd like to offer to us in terms of your advice?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Supervisors, Chairman Foy, and CEO Powers, or Mike, it's really hard for me to find the words that could even come close to expressing the level of gratitude I feel to you all and to the leaders in the VCMC system for giving me the chance to work in one of the most amazing systems and organizations that I've ever encountered. I have been mentored by people like Dr. Gonzalez, the late John Greenwald, Bob Lefkowitz, Dan Clark, Ira Silverman, people who are just outstanding people and amazing physicians, and having the chance to work with hospital administrators who are just so dedicated to the people that we serve, and now working with Cindy has absolutely been a delight and an honor. I really thank the leadership team that not only includes Dr. Gonzalez and Cindy, but also Susan Scott and Jonah Rajo and Drs. Lava and Pearson, just for the partnership and what I've learned from them. And I shared this at the gathering at VCMC, but I read something about a month ago, and it just struck me, that's VCMC. And that's that Albert Schweitzer was addressing a graduating class of seniors at a college in England, and he said, in my life, the happiest people I've ever met are people who've found a place to serve. And I feel like that's reflected at VCMC, that people are there not just as a job, but to serve. And I really want to express a deep level of gratitude for the chance to work with those people, several of whom are here today. And want to wish very well and express my confidence in the leadership of Dr. Brian Wong. The hospital could not be in better hands. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much. And I think an appropriate ending for this would be for us to bring the resolution down, all the board members, if you could come down, but also all your colleagues. And I'm going to choreograph this picture so everybody has to follow directions when you come down. But Anna, I'd like to have you in that row right there. And I'd like us to stay in front of the podium facing that way so we have the County of Ventura seal in the back, your family right next to you, and then your daughters also, and your father-in-law. And then we'll all come down and take the picture there. All right, here we go.
I was just wondering, you got to tell Barry, you aren't doing this just because he came on board, right?
Yeah.
He was feeling a little guilty out there. Yes.
Thank you.
Something about his colleagues who come down.
All right, then we'll move on to item number 26, and we'll do our substance abuse. You're going to come on up? All right. Commonwealth Community Agencies Public Dialogue about Substance Abuse Disorders. Sir.
Good morning, Chair Foy, members of the board, Mr. Powers. As you know, this is a proclamation for September as Recovery Month, and I just wanted to point out, Dan Hicks, Alcohol and Drug Prevention Services Manager, thank you. Director Roy was unable to be here due to a urgent family matter, so you have to settle for me. The Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration for the last 20 years has really put the focus on this month of September, and the national goal, if I can read it for you, is to increase the understanding of substance use disorder prevention and treatment services and help people recognize and seek assistance for these health conditions with the same urgency as any other health condition. And as you all know, we have made September a month where we not only bring together our allied staff and contractors and people in the substance abuse treatment and recovery fields, but we typically have a conference. And this year's conference, which will be on the 26th of September, is really a summit around prescription drug, the prescription drug abuse crisis, not only in our county, but how it plays out from the national to the state to the local level. And I think one of the things that makes serving in the county in Ventura particularly gratifying is the collaboration that we have. And in some ways, this conference summit in September is a culmination of the work of the Prescription Drug Work Group, which was convened a couple years ago and has representation and active participation from our Sheriff's Department, from Public Health, from our medical staff, from Office of Education, and a range of other experts. So I just wanted to let you all know how much we appreciate your support for not just the the monthly or the annual in September opportunity to bring this to your attention, but if I could, I'd like to invite colleagues and contractors just to stand and be acknowledged for the work they do week in and week out every year around substance abuse.
Let me come on down and let a couple of supervisors make some comments.
Yeah. I'd just like to say thank you. It is important to bring this forward annually, even more so now that we're all challenged with AB 109 and working with populations that have these challenges and to help them turn their lives around, and working with our community-based organizations and our vendors who really are the backbone of our success. So thank you.
And same, and I'd like to thank all of the individuals that have worked on this alcohol abuse and recovery. And I think it's important that we all get involved. It's a really, really important problem that we have. And thank you for the good work for all the people that are here today. Thank you.
I just want to, drug and alcohol abuse is truly the scourge of our society, and having people be able to recover from it and give them hope and help people battle through that is essential. We have to do that. It has such a huge impact, and if we don't keep making strides in this area, we're going to really have even worse problems from it. So it's really important work, and thank you all very much for your efforts.
And then I just also want to say, as we look now at folding together the Alcohol Drug Advisory Board and with the Mental Health Board and creating this new Behavioral Health Advisory Board, just to realize how many people out there both have mental illness as well as a drug or alcohol problem. And to me, it's really important to be able to recognize that and realize that it's kind of chicken and egg. Sometimes it's because of a drug use that may bring on some mental illness, or it might be because they're self-medicating because they have a mental illness. But being able to start looking at that and together, I think it's going to be a good model and be able to be effective in the future. So appreciate for the work that you do, and just realize it's a pretty big problem out there, and all we can do to help, both in terms of addressing the substance abuse, but also people with mental health issues, I think we're going to be better off.
We appreciate your support. I think I can speak for all of us that, especially in times of transition like this, integration and accountability, some streamlining, but not necessarily less of a challenge to face. So thank you.
And the drugs of choice change so quickly, too, and you all do such a great job of raising awareness and educating the public, partnering with our law enforcement safety partners to go out there to raise those awareness and to look for those issues in prevention. You just do an amazing job of that, so thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Appreciate the team. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to 27. We're going to join the nationwide effort encouraging families, individuals, business organizations on our preparedness. And in our county, we have a ready Ventura County. Help spread the message, get out a kit, get a plan, stay informed. And so we're bringing the surfer, Kevin down here to that's a joke, because he was supposed to get me and Mr. Powers and the sheriff together to go surfing, but he probably didn't want a picture to embarrass me on the screen. That's it. Yeah, can you believe it? It's probably not a board big enough. Maybe Crombeck has a board big enough there.
I was waiting for the right month, so
okay,
September's it. Good morning, board members and Mr. Powers. Thank you very much for your continued support in emergency management, emergency preparedness throughout the county. We'd like to thank you for proclaiming National Preparedness Month for September. And I would encourage everyone to take this month as an opportunity to visit readyventuracounty.org. To see a whole host of information that we provide for people to prepare not only themselves, their families, but also their organizations. And in addition to that, I would encourage everyone in here to sign up for VC Alert, which is our mass notification system, if they haven't. So we're looking at getting a ton of people on board so that we have a clear communication with everyone. And that's about it.
Just give them an idea of when somebody's prepared versus not prepared. What do you see out there?
So the number one thing I would recommend people to have is a preparedness kit. Would last them about 3 days, to include water for their pets too, not just their family members. Food to last 3 days. Some sort of AM/FM radio, ideally one that has a hand crank radio and batteries to support them. Also, big one nowadays is a communication plan with your family and evacuation plans. So a lot of people in our county work in a geographically different place than where their kids go to school or where other family members are. And one of the potential hazards is that an event occurs and your family is split up. You should have pre-identified meeting locations and things like that. So ideally, a person would be prepared if they have those three things: a disaster kit, an evacuation plan, and a communication plan with their family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor,
Yes.
So is he the new Laura Hernandez?
I am.
He is.
Much younger.
Much younger. He looks like a better surfer.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute.
We'll see.
Not much younger, but let me
you.
qualify
Thank
that.
you.
You're not as good looking as Laura, but that's okay.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Yes, he's doing it. There you go.
Judge minds. We're going to hold. No, sit down. We're going to hold. We got something else we got to do real quick. Item number.
And thank you, sir, but I do have folks here. Thank you, Supervisor. We're going to do our item number 29 now, which is proclaiming the existence of local emergency in the areas of the shore of the Channel Islands Harbor and the shoreline of the city of Port Hueneme. And as the board letter, I believe I put plenty of background in there for the board members to be aware. What has taken place here is the county, Channel Islands Harbor has had a dredging operation for decades through the Army Corps of Engineers, and it has always been seen and operated as one project, and one project that serves both the Channel Islands Harbor and then the downstream communities for the sand to be dredged from and delivered to, of which the city of Port Hueneme has been one of those key recipients for decades. This has been, again, a longstanding agreement that involves many partners, but most importantly, the federal government, the Army Corps of Engineers. What has progressed with the city of Port Hueneme and the crisis and the erosion of the beach has been both significant, but also looking at that as let's take some immediate action for short-term resolution to protect the infrastructure in Port Hueneme, and that action is well underway. And my office, the city, the state delegation is moving ahead with that. And that's been very important to do, critical to do. But again, the umbrella over all of this has always been the dredging operation that is necessary for the Channel Islands harbor, for the sand buildup that occurs there, and be able to move that to the beaches. So in looking at the what has transpired since all of this started, and I included for the board members and on the agenda pictures of what has occurred at Channel Islands Harbor in the entryway, and I know that our harbor director, Lynn Krieger, is here, related to what now has become what I feel significant safety for the public in the entryway, one of the entryways to the Channel Islands Harbor that has become severely encroached by the buildup of sandbar. And that picture, again, was provided to you, and I was out there again just yesterday to have another assessment of it with the harbor director, and it is now encroached to a point where there's about an 11-foot depth access for Lynn, you're standing back there. Would you please step forward? Because if I say something wrong, please correct me. But it is now, it's very obvious what's occurring. The sandbar is going to, may potentially close off that, what would be the north entrance, and I probably said that wrong, so the north entrance, northeast, west, north entrance for the marina traffic. And having the risk of folks going aground, and potentially what will happen if we can't get some action on this, that would move further south and impede traffic with the other entry, the southern entrance to the Channel Islands Harbor. So we have been working closely with Congresswoman Brownlee's office, and I know Karina is here from the Congresswoman's office, and we've had meetings. Director Krieger and I have met with Congresswoman Brownlee and with Colonel Kimberly Colleton, who's the Los Angeles District Army Corps of Engineers. They are looking internally to see how they can identify some funds to really move this dredging request up to where it needs to be. As you know, there are no longer earmarks in Congress, and what occurred here was certainly a reduction that was through a variety of sequestration, whatever we wish to point at, but that created this dredging operation, reducing the amount of sand dredged the last go-round, which is now causing this subsequent impact. So by declaring this declaration, it will, I believe, give both the Congresswoman and the Army Corps additional support to look internally to see where they can identify somewhere, some funds and some work plan that can be moved around to get this dredging back on course. And the dredging season is typically October to March. And right now that is creating some risk for us. And we are very concerned with the fact that we have 1 million cubic yards of sand has dredged and pumped, but in the last cycle, that was well under that. It was 600, and before that 600. So that's what's causing this. And that sandbar, I actually, walking out there yesterday looking at it, think that, you know, I think I'm a pretty good swimmer. At this point, you could almost walk, but I certainly could swim from the sandbar to the jetty that's out there, and that's unacceptable for marina traffic. So the declaration, I believe, will give us a tool. It will look for an opportunity for us to go back to DC, get into the whatever office we need to, Office of Budget and Management, support the Army Corps, and I know they are working to try again to identify internally some funds. My best information so far, and I know Director Krieger is helping with that, is that this is the only area in the state of California that's seeing this kind of a significant impact. Newport's having some issues, but perhaps not the same because of what we have in the way of traffic in this area and marina traffic. So it speaks to, and I think the Colonel of the Army Corps was very open to fresh eyes looking at the, you know, there's a whole national discussion that could be had on how the dredging operates and how you need to look at prioritizing that, certainly for those areas that have habitat and history of needing to have this dredging and promises made that have been decades long to do this dredging as a result of building the port of Hueneme and the Navy port operation. So I probably have talked enough. If you have any questions, I'm sure Director Krieger can answer them for you, but I would certainly ask for the board's support in approving the resolution to proclaim this emergency.
Madam Chair, I support the resolution, the emergency, because I believe it is catastrophic what's happening over in Hueneme. You know, the erosion that's happening there. I go out there quite often and to the pier, and there's hundreds of people that actually go out there, and just the fact to see that erosion is just horrific. And also, of course, as you said, you know, the sand that's now intruding into the harbor entrance. And somebody told me you can almost actually walk on that now, as you mentioned, right? The sand is so high and built up so high that we need to get rid of it, or in fact to put it over on the Hueneme side. But I support it because I have worked with John Sharkey and also with Brian from Supervisor Bennett's office in Beacon, trying to keep sand in throughout the Santa Barbara and Ventura County area. But I think it's important that we support this and that we do declare it an emergency. So I support it.
I know that we had a card from Councilman Sharkey too in support of this too. So yes.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
So that's my motion.
Okay.
And I certainly thank you. I certainly thank the harbor director and the staff. They've been very engaged in this. There have been many conversations and meetings. Again, Congresswoman Brownlee leadership on this. I hope we can turn this around and get this taken care of.
And this will, Mr. Chair and Supervisor Long, this just gives us the ability to apply for grants and dollars and emergency funding. Is that?
If there's anything out there,
whatever.
But really to support the Army Corps
and
to support our efforts. And I do plan to go back to D.C. and see what we can do in conjunction with Congresswoman Brownlee and meetings with the Army Corps and Office of Budget Management. So.
And our also the state representatives.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Everybody voted? 2 more votes here.
Votes, please. Vote yes, please.
No pressure. All right, there we go. Great. Thank you. Thanks, Lynn, for coming in.
Thank you.
Why don't we
Thank you,
move to item number 30?
It's a public hearing. I didn't note it on my thing, but it's a public hearing.
Which one is?
30.
30 is public hearing?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair Foy, members of the board, CEO Powers, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tully Clifford. I'm with the Public Works Agency, and I'm the Director of the Watershed Protection District. I'm before you today requesting that you undertake the second hearing and adopt the Ventura County Watershed Protection District Ordinance. The board adopted a consolidated ordinance on January 12, 2010, and we're before you today with several non-substantive changes to modernize the language in the ordinance and to make it more internally consistent. We've corrected some typographic errors and clarified that the term director refers to the director of the Public Works Agency. All changes are easy to observe in the strikeout version of the ordinance that are attached to the board letter. And with that, I would be pleased to answer any questions that you may have.
Any comments? Do we have a motion? Motion, we have a second. Thank you, sir, for the work. Appreciate it. Let's go quickly to our correspondence.
You have,
We
one more, sir.
one more. Who else would like one more vote? Okay, let's move on to item number 28. We've got 30 seconds to finish.
This item? Oh, it will take you longer to walk down. Got a motion? We want to be on time. We got all these councilmen sitting here ready to go. He's got some good news? Oh, you know
Chairman
it.
Foy, members of the board, Mr. Powers, my appearance today is to present you with the report of investments for the month of July 2013. Before I get to it and spend 10 seconds on the report, I'd like to mention for your knowledge that in the first week of October we'll be at the Moore Park Country Days Street Fair, and towards the middle of October we will be at the Thousand Oaks Street Fair, and we will be set up to receive all forms of payments on the secured property tax bills, which should be in people's hands by then. We have spent some time working out the internal controls that are necessary, especially if we get any cash, but we're there. We'll have the opportunity for people to pay if they're interested in paying as they walk by on their way to the bacon-wrapped cheese dogs. Turning to the statement of report of investments for the month of July, there's no real news there. The report this month has an annualized yield of 48 basis points, and I will tell you in advance that's exactly the same number that we're going to report next month. So we think that the yields have leveled out, and our impression from our broker dealers and from watching what we're offered to buy is that there will be some very gradual improvements in the type of instruments that we're able to buy. I'm here and happy to answer any questions you may have. This is a receive and file item.
I do have one question. In the board letter, you made reference to the fact that we're exceeding our benchmarks in terms of yield, and could you be clear in terms of what those benchmarks are? Could you just identify that for us? What are the benchmarks that we're officially using?
On the yield comparison exhibit, which is Exhibit 4, the yellow benchmark is the Heritage Money Market Fund, which is a publicly traded money market fund that deals, you all may be more familiar with the Fidelity money market funds. With those, there are about 4 Fidelity funds that are offered. They are short-term. They invest principally in government agency instruments. The light blue, is the state's local agency investment fund managed by the state treasurer. Their fund is in compliance with the state recommendations for how local agency pools should invest. They have a longer horizon than we do. They have a 5-year horizon, and they buy a number of things that we do not buy. The 3-month T-bill, the red mark is the 3-month Treasury bill, a federal instrument traded on the open market and with numbers that are regularly reported. So those are the three benchmarks that we have right now that we officially compare ourselves
And how
with.
did those benchmarks get established?
We pick up. Mr. Hansen had been using the 3-month T-bill and the Heritage Money Market Fund. I recommended and informed you that we were going to add LAIF to that. Another fund that I have considered adding, and Mrs. Lee and I are going to do a due diligence visit tomorrow, meeting with this fund, is Cal Trust, which is a state joint powers authority for local agencies to pool money and invest. We are going to attend their board meeting in Santa Barbara tomorrow to closely examine that fund. We included in our recent amendments to the Statement of Investment Policy to add Cal Trust as one place that we could put money. The last reports that I read indicated that their short-term investment fund is very similar to ours, although they have a few 5-year instruments, and the style of the pool is very similar to ours, and I believe that they would be a very good benchmark to compare us with. And if we're happy with them tomorrow, not only would we place some money with them, but the next time we come forward with amendments to well, it wouldn't require an amendment. It may be that later in the year in my report to you, I will inform you that we have added Cal Trust as a benchmark.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? We have a motion and a second. Appreciate you bringing this information. We'll be excited when the next time they come and it's going the other way. All right, everybody voted? One more vote? Okay.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you. We'll go to our APC meeting, and we'll come back and do board comments, then we'll go into closed session. How's that sound? All right?
There should be no announcement.
No, that's okay. Okay. Okay, we'll come back to order, and we'll go to our board comments. Supervisor Argosa.
Yes, sir. Just wanted to share with you that McGrath Park was open for the Labor Day weekend, and it was jam-packed. They had to turn people away, you know, and it was well attended. They had 50 sites that were open, and now I was talking to Rich Roselle, and they're looking probably to open additional sites here on October 1. So that's working out really, really good, you know. Additionally, also, I attended, the welcome of Dr. Cesar Morales. He's a new superintendent for Oxnard School District. There's about 17,000 students in Oxnard Elementary. That's a little city in itself. So, great guy. He's a young guy. He's only 30-plus years old and energetic. Additionally, Supervisor Long and I attended the Military Appreciation Dinner at the Tower Club, and Jeff Grell made an excellent presentation. Really did a good job, and Ron, from our parks was one of the MCs, and he also did a great job. So, well attended, and we want to thank our servicewomen and servicemen for the good work that they're doing to protect our country. Additionally, this weekend we are going to have the Mexican Independence Parade in Oxnard, and El Grito. El Grito means, that it was on the 15th of September, and 203 years ago they shouted the independence from Spain, and I had the opportunity to crown one of the princesses and the queen over here in Ventura. They had it here in Ventura. It was a great ceremony. Very, very talented young ladies. Yes, they did a really good job. These girls are really, they did an excellent job in their presentations. Additionally, I'm sure that you know that AB 664 passed, the Gold Coast Transit District from the Senate floor was at 38-0. It's now going over to before the governor for what they call enrolling and engrossing. And I looked it up and Googled it, and it means that they're going to stamp it and sign it, So that's passed, and we're very happy about that too, for the Gold Coast District and the western part of the county. And I'm going to adjourn in memory of those folks on this list. And we had a great vacation. I was in Texas for about 10 days. It's nice to be home after experiencing that weather. Thank you so much.
You missed a lot of the hot weather while you were gone.
No, we brought it back when we got off the plane in LAX. It's just as hot in here.
I know, it's unbelievable.
Thank you.
Supervisor Long?
Yes, thank you. A couple things I wanted to cover. I'll start with the adjourn in memory, and just to call out one gentleman in Santa Paula, Richard Ruiz. Richard was served in the United States Army, was president of the Mexican-American Civic Organization, Santa Paula Boys and Girls Club Board, Ventura County Grand Jury, Santa Paula Housing Authority. Very active with VFW and Korean War veterans. He was certainly the heart and soul of the yearly gathering regarding the Korean War in downtown Santa Paula. So he will certainly be missed. And then one, Clovis O'Connell, who was a librarian through and through, worked in the Moore Park College Library, Thousand Oaks Library, Newbury Park Library, and Adolfo Camarillo High School Library, Camarillo resident. And Fillmore resident Charlene Gunter, who worked for the Ventura County Sheriff's Department as a dispatcher, and others on this list, so I submit that. And then I wanted to let the board know, I know emails have been sent out repeatedly, that tomorrow will be the first site that is sponsoring the Cancer Prevention Study 3, CPS 3, for the American Cancer Society. It is that longitudinal study that's been launched in our county to register 500 folks who are between the ages of 30 and 65 who've never been diagnosed with cancer, who are committed to be in this 20-year study. It's easy. Our enrollment here at the Government Center tomorrow is between 11:30 and 3:30, and it's on the multipurpose level. Although our enrollments are full, I think they still will take some walk-ins. It only takes 25 minutes. They measure your waist, take a little blood, get you signed up. And then every other year or so, we'll send out a information request to see how you're doing. It's an environmental scan type process. Invaluable study, similar to what they did back in the 40s and 50s, that established the link between smoking and cancer, and then the second one they did that established the link between obesity and cancer. So I'm really, and many folks are working on this countywide. We have committed to, well, let me say this, ACS has signed up with 5 sites to do this over the next month and a half. So I hope our enrollments continue to be as strong. The next one is going to be at the Electrical Workers Union of Main Street in Ventura on the 14th, and the 17th, St. John's Regional Medical Center, and on the 18th, our Ventura County Medical Center, and the 24th at St. John's Pleasant Valley Hospital in Camarillo. So it's really an excellent opportunity to think about how your lives may have been impacted, and for those county employees who may be listening, if you're interested in registering or getting more information, you can go online to cps3venturacounty.org to get more information about this cancer prevention study and how you might contribute. And another related with the ACS, I've participated in the Making Strides walk, and we're going to have one again this year, and it is on Saturday, October 12th at the Harbor Cove Beach in Ventura Harbor. Registration's at 8, the walk begins at 9, and this again helps to support all of the research and work that's done with the American Cancer Society. And I, again, this year will be a member of Pinkettes and the Striders, so it should be fun. And if you're interested in signing up for that, you can also, the goal is to get 70 teams, and it's a non-competitive 5K walk, and it is, for more information, you can go to makingstrideswalk.org Ventura. And then over the break, I had a couple of opportunities that were fun to do. One was to go and celebrate with the Santa Paula Rotary their 90th year as an organization, and yeah, that was quite special. Looking at their history over the years, and they were formed by Ventura Rotarians, and they've been very active, and they've now become very known for their Christmas baskets, their pumpkin patch out at the Hanson Ranch, and the strong support they give to over the holidays to folks. Also, their scholarship programs for kids in school. And then I expect some of you are registered this Thursday, September 12th from 8 to 12:30 is the 12th Annual Ventura County Housing Conference. And it is the Pulse of Housing, and it's one of those mornings that you can spend the entire time thinking with many people throughout the county on how have we advanced the goals to be able to provide housing for folks and all of the income levels, and what the challenges are, current housing economics, life after redevelopment. Lynn Jacobs is going to moderate a panel that's going to talk about coming back from the economic recovery that we're on, and it's always a good conference. I'd like to attend. And CSAC attended a board of directors meeting last Thursday, and it was an all-hands call to be there because the governor and Steinberg were in a little battle over what was the solution for the 3-judge panel on prisons. And the governor had a plan out, Steinberg had a plan out. Now, as you know, they've kind of melded the two. I'll say the governor came in and spent an hour and a half with the board of directors and was very open and frank about the challenges with to meet the targets that the panel federal judges had set for the state, and what his plan entailed, and in addition to other things as he talks to us, and came out of that with a unanimous vote by CSAC to support the governor's plan. I certainly talked with our sheriff to get some insight from the Sheriff's Association. Steinberg, leader in mental health, I mean, his plan has some wonderful components to it. Pieces of AB 109 that we're all doing up and down the state, but we're doing in this county very well. And of course now what the melded plan will allow for is over a 3-year period of time some of those goals that Steinberg would like to see, and we all would, in reaching out to help folks to not incarcerate them, but to help them with their mental health needs. And so anyway, it was as I traveled up there and back, you always say, well, was this worth the trip? And it was worth the trip. So more details if you'd like them. And lastly, I'm going to close with a wonderful celebration of the Steckel Park Aviary reopening and ribbon cutting. Took place on Saturday from 4 o'clock to 7. Good turnout of the community, and just excellent work by many people that we've already acknowledged actually in this board. But I certainly, as always, want to thank, as our parks do struggle with all the requests made of them, but Ron Van Dyke and Teresa Lubin and now I'm going to miss the list. James Martinez, our county park staff, Claudio Frias, county park staff. They worked with the community, and it ended up with, frankly, a very good distribution of who did what and how to get the job done. 4,400 volunteer hours put into refurbishing. It wasn't. They took it down to the stubs and then rebuilt it. $182,000 in the project, of which $80,000 of it came from the community. So they really went to bat and raised some money to put into the pot. And our contribution of $65,000 was to do some things that frankly would have been done if we would have had to demolish it and do nothing, and that was the sidewalk and parking lot and things. But I give staff strong kudos for rolling up their sleeves, working with the community that at times didn't even agree amongst themselves on directions to be taken. But if you get a chance to go out there, it really turned. It's an amazing 6,800 square foot aviary, and all of the birds that were taken are returned except for one who didn't make it. But the one that's there that everybody seems to love the most is the cockatoo that's white and just talks to everybody that walks by. Loves to have company. And says hello and pretty bird and all those things. Just a beautiful bird. Good job, and I really appreciate the Parks Department and the community, the Friends of the Steckel Park Aviary, that will continue to raise money to continue to help in feeding the birds and keeping the facility healthy. So it was a good celebration. And that is that, sir.
Such an unusual thing to have, an aviary in your parks. It'd be interesting to know a little more about how that came to be.
That was what really pushed us to restore it, because it has history from the 1920s when the park was dedicated and the aviary was built. And
those were the days, huh?
Goes back that far.
How about
yeah.
that?
Well,
I also want to thank and congratulate Supervisor Long on being honored by the ACS, the American Cancer Society, at their annual wonderful fundraiser that they had, and this one out in the Tierra Hada Valley Moore Park area. I know Supervisor Bennett attended that also. Oh, it was wonderful, and congratulations, and thank you for being a spearhead on that too. Also was able to attend the ribbon cutting for our clerk of the board, clerk and recorder, who moved his office, or moved in some offices in the East County over there at the City Hall in Thousand Oaks, and Supervisor Foy and I were able to attend that ribbon cutting, which was all televised, and we all got nice plastic commemorative plaques. Also had a really enjoyable time out in Malibu last weekend, where I participated at the behest of one of my staff members, Damon Wing, on a School on Wheels fundraiser that actually lined up for the Guinness World Book of Records backpacks. And they did break the record, and those backpacks will then be filled and presented to children. School on Wheels helps homeless children, and just nice to see all those students out there from Pepperdine and others coming to help with that day. I also was able to attend I do a lot of Eagle Scout ceremonies where I can represent the county and present these young men with commendations. This one was special because one of the leaders in Boy Scouts, Grant Wilkins' son, was there. So Garrison Wilkins achieved the rank of Eagle Scout along with Joshua Taylor that day, so it was nice to be there. Some items of interest: we all have to hurry up and appoint people to the Behavioral Health Advisory Board. I did put a press release out, and I guess it went far and wide because we got a lot of people and have been referring some to your offices too. So I've been interviewing folks for a while. But I just want to remind you that we have to have one member has to be a consumer of our mental health services. One has to be a family member of a consumer of mental health services. One has to be a member that represents substance abuse services, and so maybe someone from the previous Alcohol and Drug Advisory Board. And then those are our three criteria that we have to meet. And then also we're looking to try to get ethnic diversity too. So fortunately, we do have a lot of people interested, and I think maybe because it is such a, it's so endemic out there in society that so many people have issues with substance abuse and mental health. So good to see a lot of people stepping up and wanting to volunteer. It's a very intensive committee because you serve on both the Behavioral Health Advisory Board, plus you have to sit on a subcommittee of it. And then in addition to that, they do some checks of residential facilities and some of the contractors that we use. So it's a lot of work, and if you get on the executive committee, there's another committee that you have to sit on, and then there's also a committee that deals with continuity of care and another committee that deals with jail workforce. So get hard workers in there, and if you need any extras, I have lots in my district. I'm sure you do too, though. Other things, we came before the board. My office got your approval to apply for a grant with the Southern California Association of Governments to put that study a bicycle path and ADA path and pedestrian path along the flood control channel in Casa Caneo, and we came in the top 10 of some 75 grants that were requested of SCAG, and so they haven't announced it yet, but it looks like we probably will be funded for that study, so that's kind of exciting. And the only one of the six-county area of SCAG that in Ventura County who is actually in that top echelon. And as I mentioned at the Ventura County Transportation Commission, we had the ribbon cutting for the Canaan Shuttle, which has just been an enormous success with standing room only. And the first couple of days when school started, they couldn't pick up enough kids. They had to leave some at the stop, and then another one feeding 15 minutes later. And so I love that our transportation department is all for making sure that we just meet that demand. So they put another shuttle bus on, so we keep that 15-minute intervals on for those school peak times. And if that one fills, we'll go put another one on. So to me, that's one way to get your fare box revenue too. You're able to meet the high demands that are for your service there, and I'm really excited about it and hope to see that kind of small loop, high frequency shuttles continue for our citizens. And we, in my office, have been having veteran service come once a week, and it's great because they can meet with veterans in our community. And then just recently, we have now a spot also for child support services out of my office. So it's a good way to bring services to Thousand Oaks, and I'm trying to convince the building department to come out at least once a week to my office. They are in Simi Valley and save people the trip of having to go out to Simi or Ventura every time they need an electrical permit, for example. Also, Santa Susana Field Lab, since last we met, the lawsuit has been filed against the Department of Toxic Substance Control regarding their position that there is not enough oversight regarding looking at the radioactivity of the demolished buildings that are being removed. And seems, as I review this, there really isn't any government entity that is overseeing and monitoring the debris before it leaves the site, though there are requirements at the landfills to see that what they're taking, doesn't get those meters clicking away. So it would be nice to actually have that monitored too, I think, on site before the material leaves, because you're not exactly sure where all of that is going to go and where in the waste stream that might go. So we just want to make sure that there are tests for the radioactivity on demolished buildings. And then I'll end finally on a positive thought. Our Oak Park High School is 8th in the state of California in test scores, and that's one of the reasons why we have so much traffic going to schools there and need that Cadence shuttle. People are coming in from out of the district to go there, so that's a nice way to reduce traffic. But kudos to Oak Park School District. And close in honor, if I may, with the people on this list and call out one major leader in the Thousand Oaks community, Virginia Davis. Actually, we close in honor of her husband, not just a month ago, but she was a planning commissioner, a founder of the Alliance for the Arts, and one of the Women of the Year for the Chamber of Commerce. So I know that she has made a major, legacy for our community, and know that she will be missed, as will the other people on this list. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. We have, when we've been dark for 4 weeks, there's a lot to catch up on in terms of our comments. I'll try to cut some of these things down. I'd like to ask the board to adjourn in memory of the people on this list. There are 2 to call out. Robert Mark Keller was a former Nordhoff student, and I taught with his father. And then Carl Michaels, 18-year teaching career in Taft, and also in Ojai, retired from Buena High School as a teacher. He's the father of Wendy Michaels, who was an intern on my staff a couple of years ago. So I'd like to ask the board to adjourn in memory of the people on this list. In addition to that, I'd like to just do another thank you to Supervisor Long, CSAC. I mean, to get called, all hands on deck, got to fly up to Sacramento at the last minute. It's the middle, we're dark, you got, it's not easy to do that. Like you said, sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. I'm glad this one was worth it, but continue to appreciate you doing that in terms of that, so thank you. And Supervisor Parks, the Mental Health Board, pretty important to get this reorg right, and I know you're out there trying to push for us to do that, so thank you. Met with Congresswoman Brownlee as she toured the family medicine facility, and that was on August 15th. I have down here, but it's already been recognized, with Kathy Long's recognition honored at the American Cancer Society event, and leadership in terms of that. Help of Ojai, organization that we've been really supporting in Ojai at the West Campus, and they had their volunteer recognition event. I mean, you talk about an organization we invest in that leverages, they had over 300 volunteers show up, and they have over 600 people that volunteer for them every year. I mean, it's just doing all kinds of things. I mean, if you're a senior, Ojai is a great place to be. You've got people that'll step in almost every way, and people with dementia whose families need a safe place for them to be while they're gone to work, take them to Help of Ojai, and they just wander around, and Help of Ojai with somebody looking over their shoulder, and they feel like they're volunteers doing something. And it's just it's a wonderful setup in terms of what they've done. And the only other one that I'll call out, although there's quite a few, Ojai Flow, that's we had a little bit of that conversation here, but they're the group in Ojai that wanted to take over the private water company there, and they got an 87% vote. I mean, that's not very many people, and that's for a tax increase, a property tax increase on yourself. Now, we've seen over and over again people in Ojai willing to tax themselves for things that they think are in their interest, whether it was a school or whatever, and well over the 2/3 majority. And this one, though, is remarkable. I don't think I've heard of a tax at 87% before. So I got to go to that celebration just this past Saturday, and you admire just a grassroots group of people. They made the system work. They hammered away to convince Casitas to take the lead on that, and I think it was good because their other alternative was the county. I think it was much more appropriate for it to be Casitas, and then they answered the questions and dealt with a big, expensive campaign against them, and as grassroots citizens, they were able to pull it off. So it was pretty high, yeah. About I don't remember. I don't have that number in front of me, but it was not a low voter turnout thing. It was a good voter turnout. And then the final thing, you guys all have seen her in here many times, Sylvia Taylor Stein, a woman from the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, and she was just recognized as National Consumer Advocacy Award, and she gets to go to Washington to receive that award, and it's well deserved. I mean, that's we heard earlier, John Fankhauser saying, the happiest people he knows are people that find out where they really can serve, and she has really found where she can serve. I mean, the 10,000 seniors in Ventura County live a different life because of one person that's really committed like that and stuff. So it's just great. So thank you very much.
Mr. Powers, any comments?
Just real quick, thank you, Chair Foy. Just to announce very positive news that CSAC has their annual awards. And for many years, we go to this conference and we see nice awards that other folks are getting, and that's very good, but we think, boy, we're doing that and some more. And so two of our programs received awards. The Challenge Award was received for the ICOP Mobile Crime Fighting App. And that's IT services and the sheriff's office.
Right, yeah,
very innovative. In fact, they're getting demand from up and down the state to replicate this. And then also there was the Merit Award to the Human Services Agency Electronic Case Management System, which your board has been, of course, very supportive of both of these programs. But nice recognition for HSA and then IT as part of that partnership as well. So just good job by those departments.
Yeah, it's good to see people doing good work and being innovative. Right. I know you pushed that from your office, and you've done a tremendous job. Glad to see you keep other people around the state noticing that. I'd like to adjourn the memory of people on this list. It's not a good list in the sense when it's 2 pages long. So, like you said, it's been a long time since we met, so that's it. But as I was telling Supervisor Long, Letty Yancey Sutton died. She was the founder of first mayor of Moore Park, and it was interesting. She was also part of the dedication committee for this whole building here. They got involved in that part of the county. One of those people, mosquito abatement, one of those people got involved in everything, and it's just it's interesting to see them go. And again, like we talked about, history of people, all the things that people do. People find ways to make themselves useful and happy, and this time they change the world, change the county, change the place they are. It's interesting to me. Maybe this is not a thing, but I was just kind of saddened to read that article in the paper about taking the volunteers out of the library. I thought that was an interesting way of what they're looking at doing. But people like being volunteers in the library. I'm sure we'll work something out with that. But that was just. It was something, because how many people love the idea that mom's out reading books to my kids, to my friends.
Yeah, you should read the follow-ups. I mean, the library people certainly don't think they were taking the volunteers out. They were it was an issue of coordination.
I understand that. Just the way it came out, it was just, I understand that. And I'm sure that they'll work through it, and volunteers will still be part of the library. I just don't like the way that, because we just got a lot of comments. What do you mean we can't, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it was reported and stuff. It just doesn't look good.
I think that's what I would say.
And Mr. Powers and I talked about it, and hopefully we can get it worked out that people feel like they can be part of the library, because that's, I think, makes the library special, is there's all the volunteers that make that work. So, yesterday we had the opportunity, Mr. Powers and I, at the fire promotion ceremony. I thought that was really interesting. You've been to the ones where they have the academies and do that. Then you get to see this opportunity. Those very few make it to that academy anyway. Then you get this very few that get promoted. And it was just great to see the talent of those people, and talking to the fire chief. We got some really good people coming up. We got some really good people. We're going to be in good hands for a long time, and it's just great to see that quality of people that we get to depend on for the public safety, and it was great. And then tomorrow is our anniversary of 9/11, so hopefully we never forget what went on and why we have people out there, and we talk about Veterans Day and the people who go out and support us every day to make sure we can do what we do here. So we never want to forget that. So anyway, those are my comments, and we will get back to our I guess, closed session. We have nothing else here, nothing else coming out of closed session, right? You don't expect?
There will be no announcement.
Okay, then we'll adjourn from closed session. Thank you.